Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Rinnegan Naruto and Mikoto Sasuke bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by the Dark Hood and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Prologue. 1 month. That's how long since Naruto had left on his training trip with the famous Jiraiya the Sannin. So far he hadn't learned anything useful from Jiraiya. Naruto had been expecting to learn a lot from him, but so far he had been disappointed. Though, it did give him a lot to think about his current self. Was he strong enough? Was he on his way to become the best ninja that he could be? Or was he just simply wasting his time? These were the thoughts that were crossing Naruto's mind as he and Jiraiya entered another village. "Alright Brad, work on your chakra control tonight while I check the city out," said Jiraiya while thinking, time to get more material for my next novel. "But that's all I've been doing this entire month," protested Naruto. "Isn't there anything else we can do?" he asked. "I'm your master and you're my student. Students are supposed to listen to their masters," countered Jiraiya. "They're also supposed to teach stuff," thought Naruto. "Boo, no buts. Now go find a training place until I return." With that, Jiraiya walked away, leaving Naruto all by himself. Stupid pervert. How did he even become so strong? Thought Naruto as he walked on. At this rate, I'll never improve. Finally, he found a place in the forest to be appropriate. So he started to meditate, something he learned to do while having nothing to do. Soon he found himself in a familiar sewer with a familiar cage. "So, what is it that you want this time, whelp?" asked the Kyuubi. "Nothing, I just started to meditate and I came here." "Why?" asked Naruto. "It's simple. Right now you're feeling negative emotions and I'm made up of negative emotions, so your subconscious brought you here," answered the Kyuubi. Then Naruto remembered his problem and started to get angry again. When the Kyuubi saw this, he laughed. "What's the matter, whelp? I've never seen you this angry before," said the Kyuubi. "It's that pervert that's supposed to be teaching me," began Naruto, "but all he does is peep on women for that stupid book of his. I see, at this rate I'll never become Hokage." But that statement, Kyuubi began to roar with laughter. After a while, Naruto started to get angry. "What the hell are you laughing at, you stupid fox? I find it amusing how you want to protect those little insignificant humans who caused you nothing but suffering," answered Kyuubi. Now Naruto was confused. "What do you mean? Don't tell you have already forgotten your childhood." Now Naruto understood. "Who cares about that? Eventually they'll acknowledge me and accept me. Hahaha. You truly are stupid. Humans will never accept something they can't comprehend or control. It's in your nature. Boo, just accept it already and stop wasting your time. Because that's exactly what you're doing right now. You could be using this time to make yourself stronger, but instead you're just simply playing ninja with that pervert as you called him." Naruto knew he was right. As much as he hated to admit, he knew the Kyuubi was right. "Then what am I going to do? I have no one else to teach me, nor do I have anywhere else to go. You really are stupid. Are you forgetting that you have me? As much as I don't like you and would rather tear you apart, I'm stuck inside of you, which means that because of your stupidity you might die, which in turn I'd die as well." But Kyuubi paused to think about that. He wouldn't die, of course. His chakra would simply just split itself into parts and then come back together at a different location. But that was just simply annoying for the great Biju. He would be weak, something that he detested. It wouldn't be for some time that he would regain his full strength and that would leave him vulnerable. But the brat didn't need to know all of that. Humming out of his thoughts, the Biju continued. "I also have a great wealth of information that will benefit you as well, techniques. And as for living, we'll live off the land. Life is simply much less complicated that way." To Naruto, all of this sounded too good to be true. "How can I trust you?" he asked. "Finally, you're using your brain, huh? You don't know if you can trust me or not, but as I said earlier, you die, I die. Besides, would you rather waste 3 years of your life simply doing nothing, or would you rather have a chance to become as strong as you can be and show those idiotic fools what they lost because of their feeble minds?" retorted Kyuubi with a dark sinister grin on his face. Naruto thought it over. What did he have to lose? He was simply wasting his time like Kyuubi said. Jiraiya had no interest in teaching him. All the pervert cared about was that novels of his while leaving Naruto with nothing. And that was not what he had agreed to when he came on this training trip. As for Kyuubi, the seal held him back, Naruto realized that. So as long as he didn't do something as stupid as to break the seal, he would be fine. So in the end, it was a good deal to the young blonde knucklehead ninja. "Fine. I'm in," answered Naruto after a while. Kyuubi merely nodded before giving him instructions as to how to ditch Jiraiya undetected. But Naruto was thinking of the good things that would come with this. Finally he would have a real teacher. A chance to become strong. If only he knew what would happen as a result of his decision. Chapter 1. A good choice. 5 months. That's how long since Naruto had left his official training trip with Jiraiya and decided to do what Kyuubi had told him to do. Under Kyuubi's guidance, he covered his tracks well enough that not even Jiraiya would be able to find him. He'd also cut any connections with the toads in case Jiraiya tried to use them. How? He simply destroyed the contract that he had with the toads. Naruto was no longer able to summon them, but he didn't mind or cared. Naruto was also becoming stronger and felt himself getting stronger every day. He'd learned that he remembers everything that his shadow clones do when they dispel. Thanks to this, his chakra control has improved drastically. He's also improved his taijutsu, while not as great as Guy or Lee, it improved to a decent level at the moment. He's also started to become interested in Kenjutsu, but he still has a long way in that area. Where he has excelled the most out of all the ninja areas is at elemental training. He'd learned that his primary affinity is wind with water being his second. Kyuubi was not surprised by this. The Uzumaki clan were all composed of all strong wind and water users, with a few lighting users, and even rare fire and earth users. Thanks to shadow clones, he'd managed to control his affinities at a high level, but was complete at the moment. He was getting there, but more work needed to be done. He'd also learned jutsus for both of his affinities. He'd also managed to do the Rasengan with one hand once his chakra control improved. He has been trying to add his affinity to the Rasengan, but for the moment, he still hasn't gotten it down yet. In all, he was at a high chunin to low jounin level right now. He also learned something crucial in the past 5 months. His old teachers sucked. That was it, plain and simple. Kakashi most of all. At least Jiraiya had taught him the Rasengan and how to summon, but all Kakashi taught him was the tree climbing exercise. But all that was over with now. All Naruto cared about right now was to get stronger, and he was getting there, Naruto realized. Little by little and with hard work, but he was getting there. Kyuubi was pleased at the moment. His container has improved faster than he had anticipated. He figured that it had something to do with his heritage to the Uzumaki clan. But most of all his connection to that damn Yondaime Hokage who had sealed him yet again. Better not think about it right now, thought Kyuubi, shaking his head to clear away those thoughts. Soon another being joined him, and he didn't look too happy at the moment. DCH, something the matter? You're helping him. And? Never thought you would do it. Especially since he's the son of the second man you hate the most in this world. Hahaha. It's better this way. Soon that Madara will come back and try to capture me again. I preferred to be controlled by the brat rather than Madara. We both know that he's not strong enough to defeat you. Yet. Soon he will be. In time and with proper teaching, he can become strong enough to rival even Madara himself. He's also going to find out about you soon, you know. And? He can't get rid of me, no matter what he tries to do. Even if he defeats me, which is highly unlikely, his darkness within his heart will always remain, which means that I will always exist as a result. You have Konoha to thank for that. They're fools. Though I guess I should be grateful to them because, if they hadn't been the idiots that they are, I would never have been born in the first place. Indeed. For now, I'll just simply keep watching my other self's progress. Then, when the time is right, I'll reveal myself to him. As you wish. With that, Dark Naruto receded back deeper into Naruto's mind until he would meet his other self. And Dark Naruto couldn't wait for that to happen. I'm so dead. Thought Jiraiya. Where did that brat go? Indeed. It has been 5 months since Jiraiya lost Naruto. At first, he simply thought that the hyperactive blonde was just simply training, but after the 4th day of him not returning to the hotel where they had supposed to have had stayed in or just simply not returning to the town itself, he went to look for him. But he found no trace of him. Who knew that the brat was so good at stealth? If only he knew that Naruto had outrun the Anbu and had managed to hide from them after pulling his famous pranks. If only. Back to his current problem. He had tried to look through using the Toad contract as well, but that didn't work either. Why? Somehow the brat had been able to release himself from the contract with the Toads. And that saddened Jiraiya a lot more than anyone could have thought. And now, he had no way of knowing where Naruto was. Jiraiya was simply using the old method of searching people, seeing no other alternatives. And that was to ask random people if they had seen Naruto. Oh, use his spy network as well. But so far, even that had been useless. If I don't find him soon, Tsunade's gonna kill me. Oh yes, Jiraiya could only imagine what Tsunade would do to him if she found out that he lost a person who she thought of as a son. Damn it. Yes. Finally he'd managed to add his wind affinity to the Rasengan. It wasn't complete yet, obviously, seeing as it drained him from more of his chakra than it should, but he was definitely improving at least. Naruto grinned to himself. He never thought he'd be able to be this strong all by himself. He thought he was a failure, but it just proved that Konoha was not good to him at all. Enough about that place. Back to training, he thought to himself. With that, he went back to perfecting the new jutsu that he had just learned. If only he knew that this was only the beginning of the many changes that would take place in his life. But for now, Naruto knew that he'd made the right choice of following Kyuubi's idea. While all of this was happening, Kyuubi just grinned and thought to himself. This is the greatest revenge I could possibly think of for you, Yondaime. Your son hating the village that you oh so honorably protected. He might not hate the village right now, but soon he will, especially when he learns of all the things that were kept from him and merge with his other self. With that, he went back to watching his container train, making himself stronger. He was gonna need it for the things to come. Chapter 2. Plans. So basically what you're saying is that learning seals can be useful. Exactly. How? Look at me. I was defeated because of seals. Alright. You've proven your point. The only problem is that I don't think I have the patience to do them. Well, learn how to. You already know how to meditate. Just think of it like that. Besides, it won't be too hard. Seal making is in your blood. What do you mean by that? Nothing. Let's just start already. Naruto just merely narrowed his eyes at the Bijuu that was currently sealed within him. Almost a year had passed already. His chakra control was as best as it could be. He had a bunch of powerful jutsus in his arsenal as well. His most powerful being Futenrasen Shuriken, which he had mastered 3 months earlier. His sword skills were at low cage level, which he was satisfied at the moment with. Ninjutsu was his lowest skill. He could dispel them and detect them, which Kyuubi said would be enough. But in the past year, not only have his skills grown, but his intelligence as well. He could tell the Kyuubi was hiding something from him, but decided not to comment on it. At least not until he was stronger. Kyuubi was mentally cursing himself. Now his container would be suspicious of him, making his goal harder. He calmed himself down though. There's plenty of time before he would start his plan. But he realized something. It would be harder now. Naruto had grown smarter and would not listen to him easily. Alright. I'll go buy the supplies then. Naruto disappeared from his mind to the real world to get everything ready for his next step of his training. Naruto had gotten to working random jobs that classified as D-rank missions in a shinobi village. Was it a pain in the ass? Definitely, but money was necessary for some things such as clothing and training supplies, so he survived through them. Right after he left, another being took his place. You just made your first mistake. Shut up. You don't think I don't know that. Don't take it out on me. Besides, I think you're stupid in trying to deceive him. Just tell him everything. He's not the same idiot as before, something that I'm grateful for. He's not just going to forgive them like before. I'm pretty sure of it. After all, I am him. Kyuubi thought about it. It was true. Naruto had definitely changed in the past year. He was no longer the same blonde knucklehead that he was when he started training. He was starting to mature in both mind and body. You're right. But why are you telling me this? Kyuubi narrowed his eyes at the dark entity. You want him to destroy the village, don't you? Ahahaha. Don't make me laugh. I don't give a shit about that village. All I want is to be free and cause mayhem. Don't believe me? Well, I don't care. Soon, my other half and me will fight and see who has the right to freedom. You think you can defeat him? I know I can. After all, I am his darkness. And, in the little probability that I do lose, he's turning more and more like me every day, so it makes no difference at the end. Kyuubi just merely watched as Dark Naruto disappeared. I wonder how this will turn out. You're saying he just vanished? Yes, Pain-sama. Pain just sighed at that. From what Zetsu was telling him, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki just vanished off the face of the earth. This will make their job a lot harder, alright. But the Kyuubi wasn't the only Bijuu that needed to be captured for their plan to work. Alright. Itachi, kiss him, here is your new target until Zetsu is able to find the Kyuubi. The two named criminals just simply paid attention. Well, one did, but Itachi was also processing this new information. It seems as if Naruto-kun is up to something. But what could that be? I'm sure Danzo will never allow something like the Kyuubi to slip out of his fingers. Unless he doesn't know yet, which means Jiraiya hasn't told anyone yet. Did Danzo not send his route to monitor them? It was a possible theory. After all, having someone like Jiraiya traveling with Naruto, it would be hard to keep tabs on Naruto without Jiraiya himself finding out about it. It seems as if this will be interesting, thought Itachi to himself. Will it be good? Well, it was too early for even Itachi to know the answer to that question. With that, he paid attention to his next assignment. Back in Rain, after the meeting among the Akatsuki members, a beautiful woman with blue hair and amber eyes wearing the standard Akatsuki uniform appeared next to the current path that Pain was using at the moment. And that path was Tendo, which was his most commonly used out of all the other paths. Pain, he's here. Next to her, a man appeared in a vortex. I hear you're having difficulties, he commented dryly. It's nothing that I can't handle, answered Pain without turning around to face the man. You better make sure it isn't. Even if you have the Rinnegan, you know that I know your weakness, said the man with a threatening undertone in his voice. Konan narrowed her eyes slightly at that. Hi, Madara-sama, simply replied Pain. Good. The Kyuubi is an important part to my plan. Find it. With that, the man disappeared the same way he appeared. Pain merely kept staring at the village below him. And you having seen or heard anything about him? Nope. Sorry Jiraiya. Jiraiya just sighed at that. He's been checking all his contacts throughout the elemental nations to see if anybody had seen or heard anything about Naruto, but so far he has not had any luck. It's been a year already. I hope this hasn't gotten out yet. Not only that, but I'm going to have to face Tsunade soon. This really sucks, thought Jiraiya, crying mentally to himself before regaining his bearing. But that in mind, he went to check his next contact, all the while hoping that he can find Naruto as soon as possible. Is this information accurate? Yes, Danzo-sama. This is troubling, thought Danzo. There's no way we can lose the Kyuubi. Jiraiya, that idiot. Danzo had never approved of Jiraiya taking Naruto on that training trip. He knew the way Jiraiya was. The man was simply too irresponsible unless the situation called for it. But he was even more pissed at Tsunade for agreeing to the trip in the first place. And now this happens. If only Sarutobi had let me train the boy, Konoha would have a powerful weapon within its ranks, thought Danzo bitterly to himself. Nothing he could do about it now, except to find the boy and bring him back to Konoha. With that in mind, he refocused his attention back to the Anbu gathered in front of him. Perfect. So, he issued his order. Brute. Find me Uzumaki Naruto and bring him back to me. Orochimaru-sama. What is it, Kabuto? Kabuto joined his master as he watched Sasuke on top of a small hill train down below. It seems as if Naruto-kun has disappeared, answered Kabuto, readjusting his glasses. Orochimaru finally turned to look at his right-hand man. Akatsuki. He simply said. Kabuto shook his head at that. No. It seems as if he left Jiraiya when they were on their training trip all of a sudden. And apparently he can't find him, and neither can Akatsuki, further added Kabuto. Orochimaru just listened to all of this. After a while, he laughed as his long tongue came out of his mouth. It seems as if Naruto-kun is more skilled than I thought if he can even evade my idiot of a teammate, praised Orochimaru. Well, sort of. Indeed. What are we going to do, Orochimaru-sama? Asked Kabuto. Nothing. This will keep Akatsuki busy while I train Sasuke-kun and get him ready for me to possess his body, answered Orochimaru with a wave of his hand. As you wish, Orochimaru-sama, replied Kabuto with a bow. With that, Kabuto left to his other duties. Orochimaru thought of the new development as he turned back to oversee Sasuke's training. Naruto was up to something, if only he knew what. Could the boy have found out what happened with his clan? No, that wasn't possible. No one knew of that, save himself and the mastermind behind Akatsuki. Everyone else that did was already dead. Never mind with that. Soon I'll have Sasuke-kun's body and his Sharingan. And when that happens, Konoha will burn to the ground. Thought Orochimaru with glee. So this is the basics of seal making. That's right. Huh. This is easier than I thought it would be. Kyuubi just shook his head at that. He then thought back to what Dark Naruto told him. Now was the time to make his decision. Would he tell Naruto everything and hope he would hate his father afterwards? Or wait until later when it might be worst when the brat was already getting suspicious of him? A tough choice indeed. What to do? After a while, he made his decision. Naruto. The blonde looked up from his current seal that he was working on when his name was called. Of course it was just one of the basic ones, but you had to start somewhere. Kyuubi looked at his young container straight in the eyes. It's time you knew of your heritage. Chapter 3. The darkness within the heart. My heritage? Naruto asked in wonder. This was the question he had always asked himself. Who were his parents? Did they abandon him? Where did he come from? The Sandaime always said he never knew. Now, though, Naruto was starting to believe he was lying. No, he was definitely lying. After all, he was the Hokage. He knew everything that happened in the village, well, legal matters at least. Knowing who his parents were was a simple matter compared to some other things. Unless his parents were some sort of high-ranking criminals, which was highly unlikely. Wasn't it? Yes. The Kyuubi paused for a second after that. How should he start? With his mother or his father? After a few more seconds of contemplating the matter, the Bijuu made up his mind. Let's start with your mother, shall we? This would be better than starting with the worst one. At least his mother didn't do anything that affected her son's life for the rest of his life. Naruto held his breath. Finally he would get his answers to the thing he wanted to know the most in the world, or so he thought. The name of your mother is Uzumaki Kushina. Uzumaki? Naruto thought. The first thing you need to know is that she was my previous host. What? Naruto interrupted in a scream. What the hell? His mother was a Jinchuriki as well. But not any kind of Jinchuriki, but the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Again, what the hell? Yes, and do not interrupt me again, or I won't tell you anything else, Kyuubi said while he glared at Naruto. Naruto took a breath in to calm himself down. Calm down, Naruto. Just ask him anything you want after he's finished telling you everything. This was way too important for him to just simply not get any answers because of his impatience. When Kyuubi saw that his container had calmed down, he began again. As I was saying, your mother was my previous container. You see, she had special chakra that could hold back my own perfectly. That's the reason why she was brought to Konoha in the first place from her home, which is by default your home as well. The place where the Uzumaki clan is from. Whirlpool. Naruto's head was spinning at the moment with just this little bit of information. Uzumaki clan. He had a clan. He had always thought he was from some civilian family and that the Yondaime Hokage had only picked him because he just happened to be born in the day that Kyuubi attacked the village. But it would seem that he was wrong all along. His mother was a shinobi. An important shinobi at that, and probably a strong one as well. And she also came from an important and powerful clan as well. If only he knew that this was just the beginning of the things that he was going to learn. Suddenly, Kyuubi began to chuckle. It's kinda of ironic that so far, all of my containers have been Uzumaki's. At Naruto's confused expression, he elaborated some more. My first container was Uzumaki Mito, the wife of the Shadaime Hokage. Naruto's eyes widened at that yet again. All of Kyuubi's containers were Uzumaki's. To him, his clan was beginning to seem more important the more he learned about things, and this was just simply one aspect of things. Anyway, the Uzumaki's were an extremely powerful clan. Way I told you that seal making was in your blood, it was because they were extremely powerful seal makers, which was their main skill. You learning so quickly is proof enough of that. They were also powerful water and wind users, very skilled sword users, and had very high stamina. Naruto was amazed at all of this, but who wouldn't be? His clan was amazing. It would seem that Sasuke wasn't the only one who came from a powerful clan after all. The Uzumaki's are also descendants from the Senju clan. Another reason added to the list right there, even though Naruto would admit that he didn't know too much about the Senju clan, except for the fact that they created Konoha. They split up from the Senju because they were tired of the fighting between the Senju and the Uchiha. The Senju and the Uchiha have always had a rivalry between each other. I don't know why they did, and I really don't care about it either. Kyuubi lied when he said that. Of course he knew that it was because that they were the descendants of the two sons of the Sage of Six Paths who hated each other after the Sage of Six Paths died. Well, the older son did anyways. The younger one simply defended himself. But that would be saved for a later date. Basically, they split up from the Senju to get away from all the fighting and settled in an island, which they named Whirlpool or Yuzu. With the help of seals, they were able to form a complicated defense of whirlpools and several defensive barriers which no one could get in unnoticed. They also became like the middle way between the Senju and the Uchiha. After a while, hidden villages began to form as you know them today. Afterwards, the legendary battle between Madara and Hashirama took place in the place you call the Valley of the End, in which Madara summoned me and used me as his ultimate weapon against Hashirama to defeat him. Naruto noticed that Kyuubi said that with anger in his voice. No, it was more intense than anger. It was hatred. It would seem that he did not like being used like that. But who would? Of course, Madara lost, continued Kyuubi, and he was killed, or so everyone believes. But that's off track. You see, the reason why Hashirama won was because Mito interfered in their fight and was able to seal me inside herself, and she hence became the first Jinchuriki of me in history of the shinobi world. Time passed, and she aged like anyone else. So a new host was needed to keep me in bay. As soon as she died, I would simply be freed once more to cause more mayhem. Kyuubi chuckled darkly at that for a moment before continuing. But that's where your mother comes into all of this. She was transferred to Konoha at a young age, and I'm sure you can guess why. Mito died shortly after that, and your mother became the new Jinchuriki. But before going any further, there's something that you should know that happened. Suddenly Kyuubi became even more serious. Naruto paid extra attention to this if that was possible at all. Simply knowing all that he was important itself, but he knew that the next thing would be even more important than everything else so far. Kyuubi paused for a few more seconds before saying the something that changed the course of destiny forever. Konoha betrayed the Uzumaki's. Shizune, please tell me that this is not true and that it's just simply some sick joke. I'm afraid not, Tsunade-sama. I'm gonna kill Jiraiya then. Apparently, Tsunade had just learned of Naruto's disappearance. And she was pissed. No, beyond pissed. How could Jiraiya lose track of Naruto? More importantly, why would Naruto leave in the first place? It simply made no damn sense at all. Right, where is Jiraiya? Asked Tsunade with a growl. I don't know, Tsunade-sama, answered Shizune. She herself was worried. Naruto was like a little brother to her. She only hoped that he was safe at the moment. Find him then. And when you do, get him to come here as quickly as possible. Tsunade screamed to her young assistant while standing up from her chair. Hi, Tsunade-sama. Responded Shizune before running out the door, intent on accomplishing her new assignment. Tsunade calmed herself down as she sat down. But then, she hit her desk, breaking it into two pieces. When she saw Jiraiya again, she would kill him. Of all the irresponsible things that he had ever done so far, this was the worst of them all. Naruto, I hope you're alright, thought Tsunade worriedly. If she lost him, she didn't know what she would do. He was the only person who she really cared about anymore, well besides Shizune that is. He was the only reason that she even came back to this damn village in the first place. She went to her secret vault of sake behind the portrait of herself next to all the other past Hokages, taking out one bottle of sake and started to gulp it down. If only she knew what destiny would bring next. Ah. That was the scream of one rude Anbu as he was stabbed from behind and fell to the ground, dead. Where is he? Screamed another one as he looked around, trying to spot the assaulter. I don't know. Was the reply of another one as he was looking around as well. Suddenly the figure appeared behind the Anbu, a sword in hand. You will die for what you have done, stated the figure emotionlessly. Ah. What? Naruto said in a whisper. He didn't scream like the last time, something that Kyuubi was sure he would do. It would seem that it affected him more than he thought. He could feel the darkness growing in Naruto's heart after having learned the latest information. But he didn't know whether that was a good thing or a bad one. Yes. You see, the Uzumakas were growing stronger, too strong in fact, something that the other nations didn't like, especially Kumo, Iwa, and Kiri. So, they combined their forces and attacked Whirlpool. The clan was wiped out, but not before they brought about half of their forces down with them as well. Your mother was lucky, brat. It had only been a few days after she had left that the attack on Yuzu had begun. If she had been, she would have most likely been killed as well. But how did Konoha betray the Uzumakas, you ask? That simple. They were in an alliance with Yuzu in which they would help each other if one was attacked in their own territory and by an enemy more powerful. The Uzumakas kept their part of the bargain the whole time. However, Konoha did not. Your mother never knew any of this because she was still too young, but if she had, she would have never had been so loyal to Konoha as she was. They lied to her whole life and were lying to you as well. Naruto listened to everything. He couldn't believe all of this. All the time he had been fighting for a village that had betrayed his own clan. And his mother as well. He clenched his fists. They would pay. Konoha would definitely pay. He'd make sure of it even if it was the last thing he did. Suddenly there was a chuckle. Hahaha. It would seem as if it's my turn now. Kyuubi just sighed at the familiar voice. It would seem as if this would be a problem. Who said that? Asked Naruto as he looked around. That would be me. Next thing Naruto knew, another him appeared. Except it wasn't completely him. This him had ruby eyes just like the Kyuubi and looked darker than himself. Who are you? Simple. I'm you. What? That's impossible. I'm the only me. Let me rephrase that. I'm your darkness. My darkness? Yes. Where do you think all your anger went? All your dark thoughts about revenge on that damn village? Do you think that they simply disappeared? Well, they didn't. They all came together and gave birth to me. Your evil self, your darkness. Basically anything dark about yourself. Naruto was speechless at that, which was happening a lot today. So this is where all his negative emotions went to. Sometimes he had wondered why he had never truly felt anything dark about Konoha for everything that they had done to him during his childhood. He just received his answer. It would seem as if your darkness is growing. Learning about your, or I should say, our heritage seems to be making you regret everything that you ever believed in, am I right? Yes, simply muttered Naruto. What are you doing here? Isn't it obvious? I'm here to tell him who our father is. Naruto's head popped up. That's right. He still didn't know who his father was. Kyuubi just looked at Dark Naruto with curiosity. Why? Because I want to personally see his reaction, retorted the dark entity. Naruto's curiosity rose up once more, his anger at Konoha forgotten at the moment. You see, my other self, our dear father is the same person who caused you to have your fucked up childhood, who caused you to have your miserable life, your greatest pain in this world. Uzumaki Naruto, our father is none other than Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage. Chapter 4. The Darkness Within the Heart Part 2. Thump. That was the sound that was made as the lifeless body of the rude Anbu fell on the ground. It wasn't the only one either. In fact, the whole clearing was filled with dead rude Anbu bodies. The only other living person was a person whose entire body was covered by a black cloak. You really couldn't see anything else about the person, except for the sword he or she was currently holding in his or her hand. Imbeciles, muttered the figure. You could tell from the voice that it was a female. Anzo, you piece of shit. It seems as if you must be desperate if you're sending this many of your damn lackeys. I wonder what's going on for you to have done this. Continued to rant the now identified female. I can answer that. With that, another person joined the first one. This one was covered with a black cloak just like the first one was. Unlike the first one though, this one was a male. HMPH. What the fuck do you want? Asked a woman in an irritated voice. Ho 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 ho. Pissed, are you? Said the man with humor in his voice, unlike the woman. Tell me why you're here or I'll slice your fucking head off. Alright. The second figure said as he raised his hands in a surrendering manner. It seems as if Kushina's son has gone missing for about a year now. Kushina's son? From that statement, the female's whole demeanor changed to a more friendlier one. What do you mean he's gone missing? Hahaha. Exactly what I said. Apparently he was on a training trip with Jiraiya, but he went missing. It seems as if he just left Jiraiya for some reason. He's been looking for him all over the place, but he can't find him anymore. So, that's why Danzo sent this many of his root operatives then. He doesn't want to lose the power of the Kyuubi, muttered the female. Exactly. This is good. No, far from good. This is perfect. I've always wanted to get him from that hellhole, but he was always watched by those Anbu under the command of the Sandaime, but now that he's left the village in Jiraiya, all I have to do is find him. How? He's gone under the radar, off the face of the earth. Finding him will be difficult. Not only that, but I thought you wanted to kill Danzo, as well as find your other target. Asked the male. They can wait for now. I might never have another opportunity like this. I'll find Naruto-kun and keep him safe. That's a promise. With that, the female left the clearing, intent on finding her new objective as fast as possible. My, muttered the male. She seems enthusiastic. I better watch her back, just in case. With that, he too, left the clearing, following his companion. Kyuubi didn't know what he wanted to do the most right now. He could either just let Dark Naruto continue, or he could try to strangle him. But then Kyuubi thought about the second one. There was no way he could strangle Dark Naruto because he was trapped behind the cage that was held closed by the seal of the Yondaime. Not only that, but his claws were too big to fit through the opening between the bars of the cage in the first place. So he couldn't hurt or kill Dark Naruto. That just plain sucked. If he ever met the Yondaime again in the afterlife, if he ever died that is, he would tear him to pieces for making him unable to kill someone when he wanted to. But enough about that. Let's get back to the conversation. What? Naruto said at a loss of words. You heard me. Your father is none other than Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage, or the man who made your life a living hell. Any of those will do, but personally, I prefer the last one. Naruto didn't know what to say to that. When he was just a little kid, he had always looked up to the Yondaime, but now that he knew that he was his father, he didn't know what to feel about him. His own father was responsible for the life that he had, and it wasn't a good one. I can tell that you're pretty confused right now. Not that anybody can blame you, since you just learned who your father is. But still. There's nothing to be confused about. What the hell are you talking about? I just learned that the Yondaime, the guy who sealed the Kyuubi inside of me, who caused me to have my fucked up childhood, is my father. Yeah, there's nothing to be confused about. Yelled Naruto as he waved his arms around to emphasize his point. Exactly. Glad to know that you see my point. Dark Naruto said as he grinned from ear to ear. Naruto just simply screamed to vent out his frustration. But it was a scream full of anger, powerful enough, since he was inside his mind, to send Dark Naruto to his knees from the shockwave. Kyuubi just covered his ears. The scream lasted for a few more seconds, then Naruto calmed down a little. Feeling better? Asked Dark Naruto as he got up. No. I just want to rip something apart right now. Hahaha. That's how I feel all the time. Would you just shut the fuck up? Calm yourself down. Dark Naruto suddenly turned serious. It wouldn't do anybody any good if you let your anger take control of you and as a result, die. You don't want to turn like the Uchiha, do you? Naruto took deep breaths in, trying to control his anger. Dark Naruto was right. Letting anger control you was certainly a foolish thing. Good. Now nothing. I wasn't done yet. Who gives a shit? There's nothing else he needs to know at the moment. Dark Naruto turned to his other self. What are you going to do now, my other self? Konoha, muttered Naruto. I once thought of that place as my home, I thought I had a bunch of friends there, I thought that with enough time, they would come to recognize me. And now, said Naruto as his eyes turned crimson, just like the Kyuubi, all I want to see is that place destroyed. They betrayed my clan, my mother, and me. My father, he said the title with disgust, made my life a living hell, all to protect those useless pieces of shit. I'm making a promise right now that I won't stop until they pay for all they did. I'm going to become strong enough to avenge my clan. That's a promise. Dark Naruto just grinned, feeling Naruto's darkness within his heart increasing, making his power increase as well. It was better than he had ever expected. Kyuubi just simply silently watched all of this, while thinking it seems as if Konoha has its days numbered. Well, Yondaime, in the end your novel sacrifice was in vain, because Konoha is going to be destroyed by the last person that you would have ever suspected, your son. What do you have to say for yourself? Please. Have mercy. Wrong answer. Jiraiya just screamed in a high pitch as he was pounded into the ground by Tsunade. You see, Jiraiya had just arrived to Konoha after he was told by a squad of Anbu that Tsunade had ordered him to return to the village immediately. Jiraiya was shit scared all the way back to Konoha. He suspected that Tsunade had learned that he lost Naruto. Why else would she have ordered him to return? Unless some other problem had arisen, which he doubted. His fears were confirmed the second he stepped into her office as he was beat senseless by his teammate, asking him where Naruto was. It was a fact that he had no idea where the brat was. He searched everywhere, all his contacts, but no one had heard or seen him. Not only that, but he had cut off all ties with the toad somehow, something that hurt him. He thought that someday Naruto would become the next holder of the toad summoning contract, just like Minato, but it would seem as if it would never happen now. Unless he brought the brat back and things returned to where they used to be, but that seemed like an impossible outcome. After a few more minutes of Jiraiya getting beat the crap out of him, Tsunade calmed down enough to talk to him. "Jiraiya, you better hope he's alright, or else I will kill you. You hear me?" she said dangerously. Jiraiya just nodded, understanding her anger. He had messed up this time, big time alright. There was no one he could blame for this. It was all him. Good. Now get out of my office before I start beating you again. Jiraiya quickly left, thankful that it hadn't been worse than it had been. Tsunade sighed as she made to sit down. She would have to tell all of Naruto's friends what had happened. She only hoped that they would take it well, especially Sakura. After all of her teammates were now gone. Uchiha Sasuke just sighed as he walked back to his room in the base that he, Orochimaru, Kabuto, and many other sound shinobi currently were residing in. Today, the training had been brutal, but he wasn't complaining. As long as he got the strength to kill Itachi, he didn't care about anything else. But currently, something else was occupying his mind. That was his old teammate Naruto. "Oh, what are you up to?" You see, Sasuke had just found out that Naruto had managed to sneak out from his training trip with Jiraiya undetected from Orochimaru and Kabuto. But it didn't make sense to him. Why would he leave? Naruto's dream was to become strong enough so that he could become Hokage, and what better way to do it from a Sannin? Right. He reached the door to his room, opened it, closed it, and went to get some rest for tomorrow's training, all the time not thinking what the future would bring next. The two figures were currently traveling at high speed through the Land of Fire's forest. "Would you slow down?" screamed the male. "If you can't keep up, then don't even try to follow me, cause I'm not slowing down," yelled back the female. "Here I am, trying to help her, and what do I get? Screaming, that's what," complained the male. The female just ignored him, focusing on finding the last location in which Naruto was seen at. Honestly, that Jiraiya. How could he let a genin leave undetected just like that? Then again, this is Jiraiya I'm talking about. He was probably distracted by some random woman. And Naruto-kun, to think he managed to pull it off, I'm so proud of him, thought the female. "Hey, you mind telling me why you're trying to find this kid? I mean, I know he's Kushina's son, but still," asked the male. The female just looked back at him. "I'm trying to help him because I wasn't able to do so when he was younger. I know I should have tried harder, but certain circumstances made it impossible, and you know very well what those were. Now I'm trying to correct my mistake any way possible, and no one is going to stop me." With that, she turned back, looking forward. "I see. And, you wouldn't have alternative motives for doing this, am I right?" the male asked as he wiggled his eyebrows showing what he meant. The female's eyebrows twitched. "If you ever say that again, I'll rip your fucking balls off. Am I clear, Crystal?" "Good." The male simply shook his head silently. Of course he knew a lot about Uzumaki Naruto. A lot more than his partner did, but she didn't even know that. And he wasn't going to tell her either. But the male realized something: this could be the beginning of everything that he had been told. Of course, many other things had to happen before he absolutely believed that. But this was a start. "Uzumaki Naruto," thought the male, "let's see if you really are the person that I was told about." Chapter 5. The Summoning Contract. AHHH. "Get away from me." That was the scream of one fat man named Dan Hashi. Hashi was one of the most wanted men of the elemental nations for kidnapping women and selling them into slavery in his corporation. He was one of the most richest men in the world, had hundreds, maybe thousands, of women at his disposal for personal use, had his personal army of mercenaries, even a few rogue shinobi among them, and was one of the fattest men in the world, thanks to all the money that he had. But right now, none of that mattered for shit. You see, it was one of the regular nights for Hashi: go to one of the clubs that he owned, have a couple of drinks with associates and friends, find a good woman from his selection, and finish the day off with an awesome night. But all that went down the drain when suddenly somebody, he didn't know who, caused the figure was hidden in a black cloak, started massacring everybody in the club. Even all the men that he called, hundreds, all killed in minutes. Never in his life had he ever been more afraid than at this moment. He stopped running down the alley when he reached a dead end. "No. Not now, please," he pleaded to himself. Suddenly, someone appeared right behind him. Said the figure, "You really run fast for someone with your weight." From the deep voice, it was a man. "Please. Don't kill me. I'll double, no triple, whatever you were paid." "You think I'm doing this for money?" asked the man with a scoff. "Then I'll give you anything that you want. Land, power, women. I have plenty of those." said Hashi with desperation in his voice. "You're a fool. People like you make me sick." Disgust was clear in his tone. He took out a sword hidden within his cloak. "No. Please." His plea went unanswered as the figure brought the sword down and sliced his head off with precision. The head fell down and rolled towards the figure's feet. He merely looked at it, icy blue eyes staring at the head, and then he kicked it towards the dead body in the ground. "Idiot. People like him are simply completely useless," muttered the figure. "Hahaha. Indeed. Humans like him are pitiful and weak. Nice work though. Burn the body and let's take the head to collect the bounty. As I said, I didn't do this just for the money. Now there's one less person women have to worry about and one less useless moron that needs to be fed. Whatever, brat." Naruto just picked up the head and put it inside one of the bags that he carried thanks to storage scrolls, and then he burned the body with a quick-fire jutsu. Another bounty. This one is going to be big, don't you think? Yeah, even if I don't need the money. Indeed, Naruto had become a mercenary bounty hunter about 3 months ago. Thanks to all the bounties that he had acquired, he had millions in his personal account. This served a couple of purposes. 1, it helped him get used to killing, 2, a little extra practice in his stealth abilities, and 3, it helped him to be on the move faster. About 5 months ago, he noticed that someone was following him. He didn't know who, and he didn't want to find out either. This was the shinobi world after all. He was now 15 years old, almost 16. He was taller now, something he was graceful for, standing at about 6'3". His voice had also deepened, another thing that he was grateful for. He was now an S-rank shinobi. His training was almost complete, just a couple of things were left, like a summoning. Having discarded the Toad contract, he was now in need of one. Having a summoning would definitely him as a support. After he had cut off his contract with the Toads, he hadn't worried about it at all. But thanks to Kyuubi's reasoning and his own thoughts of the subject, he decided that having one would be a good advantage over his future opponents. "I still don't know what summoning will be a good one though," thought Naruto as he continued to walk towards one of the cash houses. "I have one in mind, but I'll tell you after we collect the money and get some rest." "Good idea, Chidori." The sound of birds chirping could be heard as Sasuke smashed his favorite jutsu on a gigantic boulder. He smirked as he saw how the rock went into thousands of little pieces. He could now do the Chidori for more than 2 times, and thanks to the curse mark and his chakra levels increasing, it could become even more powerful. "Yes," Sasuke thought in satisfaction, "my training is almost complete and then I'll be able to kill Orochimaru." Sasuke was fully aware of what Orochimaru's intentions were since the beginning. And there was no way in hell that he was about to let that snake freak take control of his body. "After all, I still haven't experienced the best part of being young." Indeed, Sasuke couldn't wait to find a suitable woman to recreate his clan. Contrary to popular belief, he had always been interested in the opposite sex, but not the ones that had always surrounded him. He wanted a woman that was strong, one who could defend herself and keep up with him. As well as have a backbone. A real kunoichi. Not all the girls in the academy whom he met and that didn't know anything related to being a ninja. All they cared about were his name and his looks, not even bothering and trying to get to know him before saying that they loved him. Talk about shallow. Better not waste my thoughts on them. I have better things to worry about, for example, his old teammate and the only person he had ever considered a friend, Naruto. "Oh, you better have gotten stronger or else I'm going to be disappointed when we meet." Sasuke wanted a rematch with Naruto. To truly fight him and neither to hold back. He didn't count when they fought at the Valley of the End since Naruto had let him win after all, something that he didn't like at all. That was why he had spared him, among other reasons. Yes. That's something else to look forward to. With that last thought, he resumed his training. Okay. This is bullshit. How long have tracked this kid for? And still we haven't found him yet. Be a man and stop winning, will you? DCH indeed, it had been about 9 months since both of the unknown shinobi had started looking for Naruto, but they couldn't find him, no matter what they did. Whenever they found a trace of him, it led to nowhere. And then they found another one, and the pattern kept on repeating. That kid had impressive skills for hiding his tracks, reasoned the male. Konoha was an idiot for mistreating him. As for his partner, she was focusing on detecting anything that will lead them, or better yet, her, to Naruto. She didn't care about her partner at the moment. They were investigating the exact alley in which Naruto had killed Hashi the night before, not that they knew, of course. "Okay, someone was definitely here," stated the female as she looked at the dried blood on the ground. "Yeah, and someone was also killed here," retorted the male. "You are really starting to irritate me." "Yeah, well, what else is new?" The female just rolled her eyes. "Come on, let's follow the scent." With that, they moved on, street from street and then out to the outskirts of the village, until they came into a building that they both recognized instantly, and it also surprised them both greatly. "One of those cash houses, where bounties are collected," stated the male with surprise present in his voice. Yeah, the female didn't say anything else, but her mind was working overtime. If he was here it could only mean one thing: he was collecting a bounty. Which means that he's become a bounty hunter and the blood we saw earlier in that alley was of his last target. Interesting. I would never have thought that you had it in you, Naruto-kun. Once again, you amaze me with that in mind. She moved toward the building and her companion had no choice but to follow her. Heh. I would never have thought that that kid could kill in cold blood. I wonder what else has changed, muttered the male, coming to the same conclusion as his partner as to why they were here. It seems as if he's finally growing up, responded the female. Maybe, muttered the male, although he had to agree. The two of them reached the door and the female knocked on the door and some creepy guy with one eye opened it halfway. Can I help you? He said in a hard voice. Yes, we're looking for someone. We believe he came this way. Can you help us identify him? Said the female in a cheerful voice. No. Now leave. With that, the man slammed the door, leaving an irritated woman on the other side. Ha 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 ha. It seems you lost your feminism. It would seem as if age is catching up to you. That's it. With that comment from her partner, the female kicked the door open, finding a shocked man on the other side. But that wasn't the only thing. It would seem as if he was about to have intercourse with a young lady about 16 years old. The male whistled. Heh. Now we know why he was so hasty. I take back my comment about you being old. The female didn't pay attention to him. Rather, she suddenly appeared on the other side of the room with a man on her hold, choking him, her sword pointed at what made him a man. Now that wasn't very nice, was it? Didn't your mother ever tell you that it's not nice to slam doors at women when they want something? Her companion was laughing his head off in the background. Now, if you don't want to lose your friend, I suggest you tell us who we're looking for. Ch. Fine. I'll tell you what you want. Just promise to leave afterwards, agreed the old man, reluctantly, seeing no other way to save his precious jewel. Now we're talking. Sakura couldn't believe what had happened in the last 2 years. They were gone. Her teammates, both of them, were gone. Why? That was the only thing that she could ask herself. Why would they leave her behind? Especially Naruto. He was the most surprising of the two. Wasn't it his dream to become Hokage? He couldn't do that if he was out there, doing whatever it was that he was doing, and not here in the village. And Sasuke. She kind of understood why he left. Revenge. To get strong enough to defeat his brother to avenge his clan. But that didn't mean that she liked it. Even after she told him that she loved him, he still left. It would seem as if he didn't feel the same way she felt. And that really hurt her. Deep. But she would worry about her personal feelings later. For now, all that mattered to her was to get her teammates back. That was the reason why she was training with Tsunade. To get stronger so she could catch up to her teammates and get them back, no matter what. That was her mission at the moment and she would complete it so that everything could be back to normal and Team 7 would be reunited. For things to return to how they were before Orochimaru ever came into the picture. If only she knew that nothing could ever be back to normal. If only Uchiha Itachi. The youngest shinobi to have ever become an Anbu captain. The single man who killed his entire clan in one night, including his parents. The most powerful Uchiha at the moment. He could not believe what he was hearing. Are you sure about this, Zetsu? Yes, Pain-sama. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki has become more powerful than we had ever anticipated. He could probably rival Itachi. Said named individual just kept silent, but not his partner. That's simply not possible. We met the brat 2 years ago. He was pathetic. There's no way he could be as strong as you say he is, stated Kisame with a scoff. Are you doubting my skills? Asked Zetsu dangerously. What if I am? There's nothing you can do about it. After all, I'm stronger than you, said Kisame with arrogance. Enough. Screamed Pain. Kisame, do not doubt Zetsu. His skills in tracking and spying are the best in all of Akatsuki. If he says he's sure, then it must be. You met the Kyuubi Jinchuriki 2 years ago, and that's enough time for an individual to become powerful if he or she has the necessary motivation. Believe me, I know. Kisame decided to not say anything else in the matter. After all, he knew Pain was stronger than him and could kill him if he ever wanted to. He might love a battle, but even he knew when it wasn't smart to take place in one. What are we going to do? Asked Sasori within his favorite puppet. Yes, this could prove to be troublesome, added Kakuzu. As much as he hated to admit it, he recognized skill when he saw or heard of it. It was one of the things that had kept alive this whole time. And unlike Kisame, he believed on what Zetsu told them. Who cares? I'll just make him a sacrifice. Said Haiden enthusiastically. Tadara decided not to say anything at all. Well, this is not welcomed news, the plan still remains unchanged. We will continue to hunt the Jinchuriki soon. So get whatever you need to be done. Is that clear? Stated Pain to all the members of the Akatsuki. Hi. Good. Dismissed. Itachi opened his eyes as he returned his consciousness back to his real body. Fucking Zetsu, muttered Kisame. Itachi paid him no mind. He was currently thinking on what to do now. How? First you leave, and the next thing I know you become powerful enough that you can rival me. You are full of surprises, Naruto-kun. So this contract is really powerful. Yes, it is. Currently Naruto was in his mind discussing what summoning contract he should get. And Kyuubi really had a good one in mind. Dragons, muttered Naruto. The dragon summoning contract. The most powerful summonings out there. No one had ever been able to obtain in thousands of years, or so the rumors went. It was rumored that the last summoner for them was at the time of the Sage of Six Paths. No one knew what the test was to be able to be a summoner for them because all the hopeful souls that went to try to be the new summoner never returned. Talk about a mystery. Why use summons? Just blow everything up? No. There might come a time when I'll probably need them. It would be better to be prepared, retorted Naruto. Heh. You're finally using your brain and thinking ahead, huh? I gotta say, I'm impressed. But you'll have to be careful. We don't know what kinda test they're gonna give you. He said the last part seriously and Naruto had to agree with him. He'll have to be careful. He couldn't just rush in or it'll probably be the end of him. Alright, then, Kyuubi. Where's the contract located? Kyuubi grinned to himself. This would be the last test before he could decide whether Naruto was worthy or not. I hate walking. Don't you do anything else besides whine? Don't you do anything else besides bitch? Seriously, you need to get laid. It will relieve you of all your stress. Do you want me to cut your balls off? The male just shrank back. That's what I thought. Crazy bitch, what was that? Nothing, nothing. The unusual duo just continued walking down the road, something the male could not stand. Why aren't we tree hopping? I mean, we can do that. If we do, it'll alert him that we're coming. I think that he already knows that. Yeah, he probably does. But we'll catch him at some point. I know. How? The female grinned to herself. Call it a woman's intuition. Naruto could not believe what his eyes were seeing. That was one huge mountain. Just why did things always have to be so difficult? No one could make anything simple nowadays. This is it, brat. Good luck. One final advice. Don't die. Oh, and if you fight a female dragon, try to feel her up, it might help. Naruto just shook his head as Dark Naruto laughed within his mind. He could never get used to his weird humor. Naruto cleared his head of all distracting thoughts, took a breath in, and made his way to the mountain. This is it. Chapter 6. The Dragon's Test. Wait a second. What is it? The Kyuubi narrowed his eyes. Why are you being helpful? I thought you wanted to fight Naruto so that you could beat him, take over his body and be free. I did, and I still want to be free. But for the moment I'm pleased. What do you mean by that? Dark Naruto sighed. Just look at him. He's not being the idiot that he once was. He's actually strong now, and best of all he's letting his darkness out. So, you see Kyuubi, I have no complaints, for the moment at least. So, if he were to go back to the way he was, then I would fight him and take over this body to be used better. You're catching up. So, as of right now, you're not going to fight him? Nope. Again, I have no reason to. If I were to have one, though, I see. Are you satisfied with this? Personally, I don't care, because I know Naruto would defeat you. Dark Naruto narrowed his eyes. What do you mean by that? He asked dangerously. Heh. We both know he's too stubborn to be defeated and to allow someone else to take over his body. That part of him hasn't changed, and I don't think it'll ever change. Dark Naruto laughed. But it wasn't an ordinary laugh. It was a laugh that could make the ordinary person shit himself. Kyuubi just kept silent. After a while, the laugh died down. You're right about that, Kyuubi. Once he put something in his mind, it's nearly impossible to get it out of his mind. But again, I'm not going to fight him yet. Now, let's see how he does with his test, shall we? You have got to be joking with me. I'm afraid I'm not. But, Reikage-sama, no buts. This is an order. Naruto, the sexy blonde Jinchuriki of the two-tailed cat, sighed. But why do I have to go with them? She pointed at the team standing to the side. This particular team was the famous team of Killer Bee, which consisted of the busty and another sexy blonde by the name of Samui. Her were on par to that of the legendary Tsunade, an impressive feat. She was also the calmest person on the team and by far the most normal person. Next was a dark-skinned girl who had no bust but still sexy in a way by the name of Carrie. She was the one who had the most temper in the team. After her was another dark-skinned person, but he was a male. He had white hair and kinda spiky, though not that much. He was a person who took everything into account, which resulted in him getting almost impossible outcomes, which in return resulted in him getting hit by Carrie. His name is Amoy. And the last person is Killer Bee himself, not paying attention to anything around him. Instead he was writing something in his little book that he always carried with him that contained all of his rap. Man. I'm ashamed to say this, but I can't rap for shit. Really, even if my life depended on it, I would still suck. So I'm gonna have to make B talk normally. Vegeta really didn't have a problem with Samui since she was normal and she could actually have a regular conversation with her, but the rest, you get the idea. Reikage, sighed. I understand where you're coming from. Ignoring the cry of outrage from Carrie, he continued. But they're the best team in all of Kumo. It will be better if someone you knew had your back since, even if you don't want to admit it, you're actually friends with them. Whoever managed to get inside our country halfway undetected must not be dealt with lightly. Again, Yujito sighed. I understand. I nodded. Good. Now here are the details. This is gonna suck was the thought of Yujito. If only she knew how much this mission would change her life. What do you mean they're all dead? Screamed Danzo. Exactly that, sir. All 3 squads were killed with extreme precision, said one rude Anbu. Danzo leaned back in his chair, frustrated. Who did it? Was it Uzumaki Naruto? The Anbu shook his head. We don't know. Well then find out. Hi. With that the Anbu left. Danzo tried to calm himself down. It wasn't easy, considering the fact that he lost 3 squads of 8 like that when he didn't have that many subordinates thanks to Saratobi cancelling his program. Who could have done this? Thought Danzo. Who indeed? How long? Asked a raspy voice. Just a day left, Orochimaru-sama. You have been putting the soul transfer off for too long, answered Kabuto. Kuku. That's because I want Sasuke-kun to be as ready as he can be when I take over his body. After that he started coughing up blood. Kabuto ran to his master's side, checking his vitals. I'll go get you your medicine. With that he ran out of the room to his lab where he kept his medicine. It doesn't matter anymore, he thought. All I can do is lessen the pain. He's gonna have to transfer bodies today. I wonder how Sasuke-kun will take the news. Back in Orochimaru's room, he was laughing even though he kept coughing up blood. As soon as I have Sasuke-kun's body, Itachi and Madara won't stand a chance against me. Hell, not even the Akatsuki combined will kuku. As his train of thought finished, he sensed something outside his door, which happened to be a sword made out of lighting. He brought his hands up for defense, wincing when the sword made contact. The nature of this chakra, but I have never seen this type of chakra form, thought Orochimaru. Who's there? He barely asked, due to the amount of pain he was going through, not only from the lighting sword, but from the body that he currently residing in because it was rejecting him. The door was sliced and shattered. And there, in all his glory, stood Sasuke. This is not right. AKKIIBBA-kun, please try to calm down. Hinata is right, Kiba. Shut up, Ino. Just because he's not as cool as Sasuke doesn't mean you can just treat him like shit. Hey. What are you gonna do about it, Blondie? Enough. Screamed Niji. We're all worried, Kiba. So don't try to take all your frustration on us. It had been about a week since the rookie 12 or 10 cause Sasuke and Naruto were not there anymore had found out that Naruto had disappeared. Ever since then, Kiba had been trying to convince Tsunade to let him look for Naruto, but she always refused, which infuriated him. How's Sakura taking this? Asked Tenten. Sakura-san muttered Lee. I don't know, answered Ino. She must be stressed, considering both of her teammates left, said Shino. Probably, muttered Ino. She then looked at Shikamaru. What do you think? He didn't answer her, instead he just kept staring at empty space. After a while of this, Ino started to become aggravated. Then he spoke. I think Naruto left on his own. Everybody looked at him. Shikamaru never said something unless he had proof. Think about it. According to Jiraiya-sama, there was no sign of a struggle unless Naruto was caught off guard. Even then, Naruto would have tried to contact Jiraiya-sama, but nothing. Maybe he couldn't, said Ino. Maybe Naruto has left Konoha on his free will. I sense him. We're getting close. Really? The brat must be doing something important to stay in one location. What's the plan? First we have to get closer to see where he has stopped, said the female. My bet is those mountains. It's the closest thing. I think so too. Let's go. Yujito used her heightened senses, thanks to the Nibi, to look for their targets as they made their way to the central of Kumo-controlled land. Did you find them yet? Asked Samui. No, wait. I just picked up a couple of scents heading to the mountain ranges. Then let's go, yo. Was the enthusiastic reply from Killer Bee. Yujito shook her head, wondering why she had such weird friends. There's nothing wrong with that kitten. Tell me one upside to this. Life is never boring, which is a good thing if you ask me. I suppose it's a fact. Now what you need and what will make you happy is a man to yourself. Yujito quietly groaned to herself. She always hated when Nibi said that she needed a man. She was perfectly fine, in her opinion. No, you're not. I mean, you're still a ver. Nibi. Shut the hell up. Defensive are we? You know I don't like it when you talk about this. If you want me to stop, then get laid. That will definitely shut me up. Yujito mentally cursed fate. Why did she have to get the sex-obsessed tailed beast? You know you love me. Naruto continued to walk further down the tunnel he found. After a few more minutes, he reached an area where the tunnel spread out and became just like a room. A huge room. He looked around when suddenly movement caught his eyes. He unstrapped his sword, ready in case of an attack. Who dares to come in here? Dragon was the thought of Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. There was silence. Then the dragon spoke again. Uzumaki. Yes. Ha. Uzumakas have red hair boy. You're blonde. I know. My mother was in Uzumaki, but my father wasn't. I got my features from him. The dragon came out the shadows and Naruto finally got a good look at him. He had a red color skin, even his eyes were red, just like fire. He had sharp claws on his hands and feet and 2 big wings. So you're a hybrid? Naruto shrugged. You could say that, yes. But why are you interested if I'm in Uzumaki or not? The dragon grinned, or so Naruto thought. The answer is simple boy, the Uzumaki clan were our original summoners. What? But I thought that our last summoner was around the time of the Sage of Six Paths, right? Yeah, well that's wrong. Nobody knew, except for the Senju and the Uchiha, that they were our summoners because they really didn't need us. As time went on and the Uzumaki clan was destroyed, the other 2 clans forgot that they were our summoners. I see. Now, I'm guessing you're here because you want to be our new summoner, am I right? That's right. Well, you have to pass one simple test, you have to defeat me in combat. I thought you would never say that. He must be in here. Sounds like someone is fighting in there. What do you think he's doing in there? I don't know, muttered the female. Wait, said the male. Looks like we have company. With that, Yujito, Killer Bee and his team landed in front of them. Dragon-style grand fireball. Shit. Screamed Naruto as he dodged a big-ass fireball. It looked like the one the Uchiha clan created, but on steroids. Dragon-style. Thought Naruto as he landed. Yes. The dragons use their own style where they create techniques from their own natural element. This dragon's element is fire. But to know wind-style wind bullets. The dragon didn't even flinch as the wind bullets hit him. You're gonna have to use stronger techniques or else you're just gonna waste your chakra, something that you cannot do. DCH Naruto jumped as the dragon tried to crush him with his claw. Come. You have to do better if you want to defeat me. Naruto made 5 clones in midair, each creating a different elemental Rasengan. Try this. They all went towards the dragon, but they didn't count on the dragon flying. What? This place isn't big enough for you to do that. Ha. This whole cave has seals all over the place, making it how small or big I wanted. Naruto narrowed his eyes while on the ground. Well then, I'm gonna have to fix that. After that statement, he threw his Rasen shuriken at the air, then it expanded. I see, so that's what he's trying to do. Smart. I'll lose the advantage after this. As soon as he finished, the jutsu blew up, destroying the whole cave. Outside, they all saw the cave blow up. The male whistled. That's big stuff right there. From the smoke, they saw something rise up. Is that, muttered Yujito. Her suspicions were proven true when the injured dragon tried to fly, but failed as one of his wings was damaged. Then, he saw Naruto standing up, a few cuts but nothing serious. That was reckless, thought the dragon, he could have killed himself. I gotta give him credit though. He managed level the field. Now I can't fly, nor do I have the home turf. I might lose. I'm gonna have to finish this right now, thought Naruto as he summoned all the chakra he had. Trying to do this quickly, are you boy? I don't like to drag things out. I might have only seen one of your techniques, but thanks to that I know that I can't let you do any of your stronger ones, or else I'll be toast. You're too late. Dragon-style fire dragon cannon. A huge beam of fire shot out of his mouth, hotter and more powerful than the previous fireball. As soon as the technique made contact, a big explosion surrounded the area, making the others take cover. What the hell is going on? Asked the male. I don't know. Answered the female. Vegito, we have to make sure they don't escape, said B. I know. As soon as the dust disappeared and the explosion died down, they saw the dragon looking where Naruto had once been. It's over. No, it's not. The dragon's eyes widened as he turned around to see Naruto standing on a ledge with his arm raised in the air. How did you survive? It doesn't matter cause it's over. Lighting style. Lighting ray. The dragon looked up to see lighting coming out of the darkened clouds and heading towards him. He didn't have enough time to move, so the jutsu hit him straight on. Looks like I lost, that was his last thought as he was hit. Naruto panted as his vision started to go black. I used the last of my chakra with that last move. The last thing he heard was Kyuubi's voice. Good job, brat. Be ready for what's happening next. Chapter 7. New allies. Is he dead? Don't be ridiculous. It would take more than chakra depletion to kill him. How sad. I thought you didn't want to kill him right now. I don't, but have you seen who's taking care of him right now? She's a beauty you don't see often. It would be a good opportunity to have some fun, wouldn't you agree? Perhaps. Dark Naruto sighed. Oh, right. I forgot you don't feel the same emotions as me and my other self, since you're just a huge amount of chakra. And you? You're just a combination of all of Naruto's dark emotions. Retorted Kyuubi. Dark Naruto wiggled his index finger with a smirk on his face. Now, that's not true. I'm his dark part, meaning I'm still him, meaning I have emotions such as lust, meaning I can have sexual desires, meaning that I could fuck that sexy woman out there if I had the chance. Ayubi simply decided to remain silent, not interested in the topic of the conversation anymore. After a few more minutes of silence, Dark Naruto was about to scream in frustration when they saw Naruto appearing in his mind. Dark Naruto growled. About time you woke up, you idiot. Naruto simply held his head in his hands. I feel terrible. What do you expect? Said Dark Naruto as he rolled his eyes. You just woke up after a chakra depletion. Why did you even use that move in the first place? I thought Kyuubi told you to use it only in emergencies. It was an emergency. That dragon was strong, and if I didn't finish the fight as quickly as I did, I would have lost. Enough of this pointless arguing. There are more important matters at the moment, such as the people taking care of you at the moment. Dark Naruto grinned at being reminded of the subject, and Naruto simply stared at Kyuubi. What people? After you passed out, they brought you to some village in the land of lighting. It seems as if they're the ones that were following you. There's also some ninjas from Kumo, and the situation is tense out there. Oh yeah. That blonde Kumo Kunoichi is also a beauty. It would be pretty hard to choose from those two. What is he talking about? Asked Naruto as pointed at his dark self who was in deep thought. Kyuubi just sighed. Don't worry about that. The thing you do have to worry about is how you're going to get out of here. It will be difficult considering the fact that your body won't recover for a few more days. Naruto thought about it until he asked what had been bugging him ever since he found out someone had been chasing him. Are they hostile? I don't know. I will tell you this though, began Dark Naruto as he joined the conversation, one of them is a piece of heaven. Naruto and Kyuubi stared at Dark Naruto. After a few seconds of this, Dark Naruto began to get scared, if that was even possible. What? You believe in heaven? Asked Naruto. Oh, that. The dark entity waved his hand in dismissal. Hell no. It was simply a metaphor. If there was one though, I'm pretty sure she would. Enough. Just shut the hell up. Brat, what are you going to do? I'm going to have to see what they want, not that I have a choice. Kyuubi nodded. I suppose you're right. Then Naruto began to feel a pull. It seems I'm about to wake up. The Kyuubi nodded. Good luck. With that Naruto disappeared and Dark Naruto took his place. Ahahaha. This is going to be fun. Are you sure this is a good idea? Whispered the male to the female. No, I don't. But if we attack them, it would cause more problems that we don't need at the moment. I'd rather that we don't make enemies with Kumo. The male looked at his partner incredulously. Since when? The female just gave him the look, just don't do anything stupid or you'll regret it. The male took a step back. I got it. On the other side of the room, the Kumo shinobi were having their own conversation. Yujito, what are we going to do? Asked Samui. We'll just wait for now. Answered Yujito. The fact was that she didn't think she was strong enough to fight the other two shinobi, especially the female. She could tell that she was at least cage level, and that said something. She would consider herself at high jounin level, perhaps low cage. She always prided herself for being strong, but she knew when she was outmatched. Although, if B and I team up, we could probably take her, but that would leave the others to take the man, and I'm pretty sure he's strong enough that they won't be able to handle him at the present situation, all they could do is wait. After 5 minutes of tense quiet and staring, the only unconscious person began to stir, catching the attention of every person in the room. The female ran to his side, making sure that the others wouldn't get too close, even her companion, something he noticed with a smirk. The first thing Naruto saw when he woke up was black eyes, reminding him of Sasuke. Then his vision cleared enough for him to see who they belonged to. When he did, he had to agree with his evil counterpart, she was beautiful. She had long black hair tied in a ponytail that reached to her back, a beautiful round-shaped face, long sexy legs, big bust, not up to Tsunade's level, but big nonetheless, and around behind, wearing a black skirt with a short black shirt, showing her stomach and the muscles that came with it, showing how hard she trained, with long white sleeves and black gloves. In the end, she was the best-looking woman he had seen in his short 15 years of living. Naruto mentally shook his head from those thoughts. He had more important things to worry about at the moment. He then began to take notice of the others in the room. He saw a man beside her. He too had black eyes and black hair, making him wonder if they were related. His hair though was almost like his, spiky. He was wearing black cargo pants with a long black sleeve shirt with the collars raised. He seemed to be amused by something. The other occupants were wearing the standard Kumo Jounin uniform, except for one of the blondes, and again he had to agree with his other self. She too was stunning. She had blonde hair like him, except a little darker. It reached to her back and was also tied in a ponytail. I don't want to describe the way she looks, cause I'm pretty sure you all know what she looks like. Naruto tried to stand up, but the female put her hands on his shoulders, making him halt. I wouldn't try that if I were you. Your body is still too weak from your earlier fight. He tried to resist, but he knew she was right. So he just sat on the only bed in the room. After that, silence reigned. After a few more moments of this, he decided to find out who they were. Mind telling who you are and what you're doing here? Oh, where are my manners, said the female. My name is Uchiha Mikoto, and the guy next to me is Uchiha Obito. Naruto's eyes widened, as well as Kyuubi's and Dark Naruto's. Uchiha. Thought every occupant inside the room. The female, now named Mikoto, laughed inside her head. Mind telling me why you're so surprised? Naruto came back to reality after that. Maybe it's because you're supposed to be dead. Dead? Said Obito. Who the hell told you we were dead? Oh, I don't know, said Naruto with sarcasm, maybe because of a little incident known as the Uchiha Massacre. Oh that, said Mikoto like it was nothing, we will explain everything once we don't have unnecessary ears listening. Mikoto shot the Kumo shinobi a stare that said she was talking about them. Vegito scowled. You come into our country uninvited and you're wondering why we're here. This doesn't concern you, said Mikoto, her voice becoming hard. The moment you stepped into our country, it became our concern, retorted Vegito. This is getting good. Said Dark Naruto as he watched everything intently from Naruto's mind. Kyuubi said nothing. Vegito, calm down, said B as he placed a hand on her shoulder to ease her anger. It helped. A little. Right now, all Vegito wanted was to beat the other female into the ground. The only thing keeping her from doing that was the little rational part in her mind telling her to control her emotions. Obito was just watching everything with a smirk on his face. Now this was interesting. A catfight. I seems as if he thinks just like Dark Naruto. You still haven't told why you're here, interrupted Naruto. I told, began Mikoto, only for Naruto to interrupt her. I heard you. But if you don't want them to hear, why don't you kick them out? Mikoto and Obito both raised their eyebrows, while the Kumo shinobi's eyes widened. You know, began Mikoto with a deadly voice, if you were anyone else you would be dead right now. Naruto said nothing. But you do have a point. She turned towards the Kumo shinobi. You are a hindrance. She took out her sword. Obito did nothing. If she wants to listen to him, then fine. But nobody orders me around. Vegito, B, and the rest took a fighting stance. This isn't good, thought Vegito, we're outmatched. Suddenly, Naruto appeared behind Mikoto, holding her sword down. The others were wondering what was going on. What are you doing? Demanded Mikoto. Why did you listen to me? Asked Naruto. Listen to you? Repeated Mikoto. Then, she started laughing. After she stopped, she turned to face him. What makes you think you could order me around? Whispered Mikoto into his ear. Naruto just stared at her. You were doing it because you wanted to, stated Naruto. Exactly. Naruto let her go and turned towards the Kumo shinobi. You can leave. You have my word that they won't cause problems. Mikoto and Obito raised their eyebrows again. Vegito just stared at him. And why should we listen to you? Naruto shrugged. Because you don't have a choice. Vegito knew he was right but didn't want to back down, her pride getting the best of her. It would be best if you come back to Kumo with us, said B. And why should we do that? Asked Mikoto. Done. Said Naruto. Mikoto looked at him, but he ignored her. If you give us time to talk alone, we'll go with you. And we won't try to escape. He looked at Mikoto, telling her that she didn't have a choice. She just looked somewhere else. Fine, said Vegito. We'll be waiting outside. With that, she and the rest of the Kumo shinobi left the room. When they were gone, Naruto turned to the other two. Now, mind telling me why you're here? Obito looked at Mikoto, telling her that she had to explain. Mikoto sighed and turned to look at him. I don't know if you know, but your mother was Uzumaki Kushina, one of the best kunoichi in history, and my best friend. Naruto remained silent but listened intently. We became friends in the academy after we had a practice spar. We were always together, telling each other everything. Even during the war, it was fun. We were both rivals, always trying to outdo each other. And because of that we became strong enough that we became popular, both on the battlefield and socially. Before I knew it, I was chosen to marry Fugaku, the next clan head. Mikoto looked disgusted at the idea. I didn't get much say in the matter, and I was made a housewife. I never did love him, but I was happy since he gave me Itachi, and later Sasuke. Naruto's eyes widened at that information. Mikoto, seeing his look, sighed. Yes, I'm Itachi and Sasuke's mother. But that's not the point. Anyway, Kushina was more lucky. She managed to marry someone who she actually loved. You could say I was jealous of her. I did, however, had Itachi, so it wasn't so bad. After the war ended, I was pregnant again. But this time, Kushina was as well. She was happy, seeing that she was going to be a mother. But then a disaster happened. Mikoto's face turned sad. The Kyuubi attack. I don't know the details, but both she and your father died, the Yondaime Hokage. Mikoto looked at him, expecting him to be surprised, but instead he didn't do anything. She decided to ask him later. After that, the Sandaime told the village you were the new Jinchuriki. Because of that everyone knew what you carried inside of you and well you can realize how ignorant people can be since they thought that you were the Kyuubi itself. How foolish. But I'm getting off topic. It didn't take long for me to realize that you were Kushina's son, considering the fact that you look just like your father. You might not know this, but I helped you any way I could. I gave you money through the Sandaime, I guarded you from afar, I sent you food. I wasn't able to do much because of my clan. After that the Uchiha massacre happened and I won't tell you how I survived, not now at least. I hid myself and trained to make myself stronger and then I met Obito and I teamed up with him, but that's another story. After that I kept tabs on you, making sure you were alright. You weren't the only one, but again, that's for another time. I always wanted to get you out of that village for reasons I'll tell you later. When you ditched Jiraiya, that gave me the perfect opportunity, but you gave us quite the chase. We managed to track you down here and we saw your fight. After that you passed out and we brought you here. Kumo decided to get involved though, something I hadn't thought about. After she finished, Naruto took all of this in. Now he realized that she was the one that he always sensed that was watching him when he was younger. It all made sense. Add to the fact that she was Sasuke's mom. What would he do when he found out that she was alive, he wondered. And did she want to find him? He decided he would ask her later. You should know, began Naruto, that I don't have good intentions towards Konoha. Mikoto looked at him curiously, even Obito looked interested. I just learned some things that would make anyone angry. I wonder, though, what are your intentions towards the village? Hostile. Answered Mikoto instantly. Our clan was betrayed by Konoha. Naruto narrowed his eyes at that. How funny that a village who promoted loyalty and teamwork would instantly betray her allies. But this was good news for him, though. I see, said Naruto. My reasons are the same. Both Uchiha's eyes widened. I will tell you the details later, but I do have one question. He faced both of them. Will you join me and have us take our vengeance to the village that took our families from us? He extended his arm towards Mikoto. She looked at him, then at Obito. He nodded his head slightly, telling Mikoto that he agreed. She smiled, then faced Naruto. She took his arm with hers. We accept. The sky was dark. Rain fell. One person watched this from a platform of a huge tower. When, he wondered, would there be no more suffering in this world? Pain, said a soft, gentle female voice from inside the tower. The Four Tails has been captured. Yes, he thought, one more step towards peace. The Akatsuki had recently started to move in the hunt for the Jinchuriki. The Five Tails was the first captured, then the Six Tails, and now the Four Tails. Three-tailed beasts in their possession in just a matter of months. Iwa had been the most affected, losing both of their Jinchuriki. But that old fool doesn't care about them, thought Pain, all he cares about is himself. Good job, Conan. You may leave. Conan bowed and disappeared back inside the tower. Pain watched the rain fall once again. Peace would soon fall the world. He would make it happen and anyone who stood in his way would be destroyed. It was his dream. And most of all, it was the dream of his best friend who died while trying to achieve it. Then the rain would stop falling in his homeland. For now though, the rain continued to fall. Chapter 8. Brothers from another mother. I want you to join me. And why should I? I'm grateful that you freed me, but that doesn't mean I'll listen to you. Sasuke merely looked at Suigetsu with an emotionless gaze. After absorbing Orochimaru, he came to recruit the first person of the team he was hoping to build, effectively marking the first phase of his plan into action. But it would seem that it wouldn't be as easy as he first thought. Not that he thought persuading Suigetsu was going to be easy considering the fact that he was one of the most arrogant people he met, including himself. He knew that he was too arrogant at moments, which wasn't a good thing. But that didn't matter at the moment. He just wanted to start searching for Itachi as soon as possible. At first he would need people to have his back in case he ran into any other Akatsuki members. Hahaha. You're too serious for your own good. Alright, I'll join you for now. Whatever. Sasuke merely turned towards the exit. Get dressed. We have a long journey. The next thing he felt was a finger pointed at his head, said finger belonging to Suigetsu who was right behind him. TCH. Such a bossy tone. Now, let's get something straight, shall we? You might have defeated Orochimaru, but that doesn't mean shit. Everyone was after his head, meaning someone was bound to get him sooner or later. You were just the most likely considering the fact that you were always by his side while the rest of us were kept in cages. So don't get cocky, or you regret it. Sasuke just looked at Suigetsu in the eye, no fear in his eyes. After a few more seconds of this, Suigetsu started to chuckle and released his hand from its position, backing away. Whoa. No fear, nothing. Which means your win wasn't a fluke. Good to know. Now, if I am to join you, there is something I'm gonna need. Sasuke said nothing. Instead, he just walked towards the exit of the laboratory, Suigetsu following him. I hate this. You're not the only one. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, I think you know what it means, little kitten. Who are you calling little, you old hag? Old hag? Why you? Damn. They seriously have issues. I know. They're starting to get annoying. It's starting to annoy me too. I mean, where's the traditional cat fight? You know, with the hair pulling and clothes ripping while men stand to watch while throwing money in the fight. Those were the days, alright. You're starting to get annoying as well. Fuck you, Kyuubi. I agree with him, what the fuck have I done? You've become more vocal towards the opposite sex. Can you blame me? If I could, I would be doing those too at this very moment till they scream my name out to the moon. Oh yeah, that would be nice. Naruto just mentally shook his head at his other self. Not that he disagreed with him, because, if he was honest with himself, he would do the same thing. But it also brought one thing in perspective, it was Sasuke's mom. His old teammate, his old rival. It was weird but appealing at the same time. Appealing because she was hot, and the look on Sasuke's face if he ever found out that he banged his mom would be priceless. Now that's a nice thought, he thought to himself. I agree with you completely. Those bitches are starting to get on my nerves, muttered Obito. Naruto glanced at him. Same here. Why did you have to agree with Rinnegan in the first place? Hell, why did we even meet him? Complained Obito. It had been a couple of hours after their meeting with Rinnegan. It had been a good opportunity in Naruto's mind. After explaining everything and that he wasn't going to attack Kumo, Kyuubi came with an idea. An idea that Naruto liked very much. Basically, he was proposing an alliance between him and Kumo. It didn't like the sound of that, and it took a lot of charm to finally get him to agree. As long as Yujito was with them, of course. A small price to pay, thought Naruto to himself. Indeed it was. Now he had a village on his side, a powerful new team, and a new summoning contract. Which reminds me, I still have to talk to the dragons about our arrangement. He wasn't to worry about that. He knew that dragons appreciated strength, so as long as he had that, he would have their allegiance. We now have Kumo on our side, for now at least. It's going to be helpful in the future. Besides, Yujito is gonna be useful as well, Naruto answered him. Obito just sighed, but said nothing else. Naruto looked at him with curiosity. How did you and Mikoto even meet? Obito looked at the road ahead of him. It was shortly after the Uchiha massacre. She went to one of the secret Uchiha compounds that are scattered all over the elemental nations from the Clan Wars era. I used as well, so it was only a matter of time before we ran into one another. You see, I too was training at the time and healing of an incident I had, which thankfully I have. Of course she attacked me instantly, not that I blame her. After what she had just went through, she didn't trust anybody, again not that I blame her. After she calmed down, I told her who I was, as well as my story. We already knew each other because she used to take care of me when I was a kid. She thought I was dead, which is what everyone thinks. I still don't know you enough to tell you all the details as to why, but after that she told me what had happened in Konoha, and we decided to stick together and get revenge together. Naruto nodded, satisfied. What is it? I wonder how old she is. She doesn't look old, but if she was old enough to take care of this guy, why does that even matter? Just curious. Not that I mind banging older women, especially if they look like she does. Naruto decided not to listen to the rest. Mind telling me where we're heading? Asked Yujito after she finally stopped arguing with Mikoto. I would like to know as well, said Mikoto. I'm still not done with my training, said Naruto. Training? Repeated Obito. Brat, I don't think you need any more training. I'm still not strong enough to destroy Konoha yet. I wonder if you'll be satisfied with my power, thought Kyuubi to himself. Mikoto grinned. I have an idea that you might like, she said. Naruto stopped walking and turned towards her. And that might be? Again, she grinned. Orochimaru is dead. The response was instantaneous. Itachi looked uninterested, Kisame grinned, Todara's eyes hardened, Sasori had no reaction, Hayden grinned more darkly than Kisame, Zetsu already knew since he was the one who told Pain in the first place, Konan already knew as well, and Kakuzu didn't give a shit. Mind telling us who had the honor of killing that snake? Asked Kisame. Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke. Thought Itachi. Well little brother, you have grown stronger, as it would seem. Oh. Kisame whistled. Itachi's little brother, huh? It seems the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Uchiha Sasuke. Screamed Todara. That little runt. I wanted to kill that bastard. He's gonna pay. It doesn't matter, interrupted Sasori. Not us at least. His target must be Itachi, am I correct? Itachi glanced at him for a second. That is correct, said Pain. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be on your guard. There's a chance that he might come after one of you for information about Itachi. Heh. Let that little runt come. He would make a good sacrifice. Said Hayden. Pain looked at Sasori and Todara. The one-tail is the next target. How far are you from his position? We should be there in a day, maybe two if a sandstorm were to hit, answered Sasori. Good. Make sure to hurry. Failure is not an option. And this goes to all of you, keep Uchiha Sasuke on your mind. This meeting is over. Itachi opened his eyes to see the clear blue sky. What of the 9 tails? Asked Kisame. I already caught my target, but you haven't. The 9 tails will be caught last, remember? Said Itachi in a monotone voice. Right now we just have to catch the other tailed beasts. Besides, we don't even know where he is. Come on, let's go. Itachi stood up and started to walk to a nearby village to rest. Isum followed, while thinking, I wonder what goes around in that head of yours, Itachi. Sasuke will be fighting Itachi real soon. Do you want us to stop him? No. I have plans for the boy. Just concentrate on hunting the remaining tailed beasts. Understood, Madara. Madara, or Toby, nodded. Good. Soon the world will know the wrath of the Uchiha. With that he disappeared with his teleportation jutsu. The thing he didn't know was that he was right. The world would know the wrath of the Uchiha, but it would not be delivered by him, but by another Uchiha. So, is he gonna return to the village? Asked a hopeful Sakura. I'm afraid not, answered Tsunade. Right now in the Hokage's office, the rookie 12 or 10, as well as their senseis, were just learning of the latest news about Sasuke killing Orochimaru. Oh, said a disappointed Sakura. Sakura thought Ino sadly. Truth was, she also was sad about what she just learned, but not as much. Sasuke is obsessed with revenge, said Jiraiya. From what I have learned, he's forming a team to help him hunt down Itachi. Seems reasonable, muttered Kakashi. What about Naruto? Asked Kiba. Any news on him? Sakura flinched when she was reminded that her other teammate had also left the village. I'm afraid not, said Jiraiya. He still hadn't found anything that would lead to Naruto, which infuriated him. Minato, I swear I'll find your son and bring him back. Even if it's the last thing I do. The rest of the rookies were disappointed at not having any news about their friend. Right now though, there are more things to worry about, said Tsunade as she restarted the conversation. You want us to find Itachi, don't you? Guessed Shikamaru. You're right. If we capture him, Sasuke will no doubt come here, making it easier for us to capture him. Capturing Itachi will not be easy though, said Kakashi. He knew he was strong, but compared to someone like Itachi, he knew he didn't have a chance. Though, with Guy, Asuma and Kurenai, there was a chance. Not to mention his partner as well, said Asuma. Another problem. Kakashi knew the rookies wouldn't stand a chance against the strongest swordsman of the mist. I know, said Tsunade with a sigh. But I'm confident you'll find a way. I would join you, but I have my spy network to deal with about finding Naruto, said Jiraiya. I wish you all good luck. Dismissed. The rookies along with their senseis left, intent on succeeding in their mission. Once they left, Tsunade turned towards Jiraiya. Are you sure that you're alright? Are you alright? He asked back. Tsunade sighed. You got me there. I wonder what the brat is up to, though. I hope he's alright. Jiraiya put a hand on her shoulder. Don't worry. The brat's fine. If anything had happened to him, my network would have known by now. He's out there, somewhere. But where? Said Tsunade in desperation. Jiraiya smirked. If I knew that, I wouldn't be here, now would I? Tsunade chuckled. I guess you're right. I'll be on my way then. Jiraiya made for the window, but before he could leave, Tsunade took his hand into hers. Please find him. I will. And Jiraiya, yes. Please be careful. Sakura returned home to pack for her next mission. She got herself a small apartment in the suburbs of the village after deciding that she could live alone. Her parents weren't excited about the idea, but in the end they agreed. As she packed, the picture next to her bed caught her attention. It was herself, Sasuke, Naruto, and Kakashi a day after Kakashi had passed them. Those were happy days, she reasoned. Back when the world seemed to be a better place, before she knew of the world of shinobi, before both of her teammates had abandoned the village for their own reasons. How I wish things would go back to the way it was before the Chunin exams. That's when things went down the drain. The meeting with Orochimaru, Sasuke getting the curse mark which later resulted in him leaving the village. Then Naruto left while in the middle of his training trip for reasons she could not understand. I will make things go back to how they were. I made a promise to Naruto that I would not slow him down. I intend to keep it. How foolish. You sure about this? Asked Obito. I'm positive, answered Mikoto. Are you even sure the procedure is going to work? Questioned Obito. The Kyuubi will no doubt heal him of anything considering that he is happy where he is at the moment, said Mikoto. But the Uchiha, forget that. Right now, the Uchiha clan is in the brink on extinction. We owe no allegiance to Konoha or any other village. All that matters is our revenge, making sure that it succeeds no matter what. After that, I'll be at peace. I hope you know what you're doing, muttered Obito. I know what I'm doing. But there is something else that I need to take care of first, though. Which is? Why, a reunion between me and my youngest son, of course. Uchiha Sasuke, I'm going to bomb that son of a bitch till his body is all but bits of pieces in the ground beneath my feet. Calm down, Deidara, said Sasori in a calm voice. The two lovers of art made their way to Suna, which was where the one tail, their target, was located. No. Screamed Deidara. He stole my chance to kill Orochimaru. I will never forgive him for that. You think I don't feel the same way, said Sasori with annoyance in his voice. He was my partner before you, you know. He betrayed me, something I don't take well to. Doesn't matter. Said Deidara. I was the one who was going to kill him. But now, it looks like I'm going to have to kill the Uchiha instead. Don't, said Sasori, Itachi would kill you. And you know you don't stand a chance against him. Remember the last time you faced him. Deidara's anger rose at remembering that day when he was recruited into Akatsuki. The day he was defeated easily, the day he almost appreciated Itachi's eyes as art. They'll never be art, he thought, only my creations can never be true art. And soon I'll show him. We'll need to split up, said Sasuke. I'm good with that, said Suigetsu. With that, he disappeared to the nearest town. Juugo also left, using the animals in the area to help him. Now's my chance, thought Karen. Oh Sasuke, she said in a sultry voice. You should get going as well, said Sasuke without turning around. TCH, fine. Said an irritated Karen. After she left, he threw a couple of kunes to nearby tree branch. I know you're there. Show yourself. They're good, said a female voice. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Who are you? Why, Sasuke, to think you wouldn't recognize your own mother. I must admit, I am hurt. Sasuke's eyes widened. Mom. I got Sasuke sent. Screamed Kiba as the Konoha shinobi made their way through the forest. Sasuke-kun, thought Sakura. Where to Kiba? Asked Kakashi. About 15 miles from here. There seems to be another person with him. I don't recognize the scent though, answered Kiba. Alright. We need to hurry. Said Kakashi. That's right, said Mikoto. But how? I thought you were dead. Said a shocked Sasuke. You shouldn't believe everything you see, Sasuke-chan. Ninjutsu, muttered Sasuke. Exactly. I'm going to tell you everything of what happened that night as well as other things, but not here. Come with me and your team as well. Sasuke nodded without hesitation, wanting to know everything. The scent is gone. Screamed Kiba. What do you mean going? Asked Niji. Just that. 1 second it's there, the next it vanished. The other scent vanished as well. No. Screamed Sakura in her head. Well, that is unfortunate, our mission is still to capture Itachi. Let's go. Said Kakashi. The rest nodded. I wonder what the Uchiha is planning. Me too. We shouldn't trust her. Why? I have my reasons. Naruto was about to ask him when he felt her presence. She's here, said Obito. Finally, muttered Yujito. About time you got back, said Naruto. Now mind telling me. Naruto. Said Sasuke. Sasuke. Said Naruto. What the hell are you doing here? They both said at the same time. It seems you two know each other, said Mikoto. You could say that, said Naruto. How do you know Naruto? Asked Sasuke to his mother. We met about a day ago, under entertaining circumstances. Entertaining? Thought Naruto. She has a weird definition for entertaining. I'm starting to like her more and more. Why me? Don't be hating the evil entity with a cool outlook on life, will you? I wonder if dying will be worse than this. Who are they? Asked Yujito, pointing at Team Hibi. My team, answered Sasuke. Mind telling what's going on? Asked Naruto. It's really simple. We're going to join forces. Naruto's and Sasuke's eyes widened. What are you talking about? Said Sasuke. I would like to know as well, said Naruto. Mikoto chuckled. Our goals are the same. The destruction of Konoha. Sasuke shook his head. I don't care about Konoha. My goal is to kill Itachi. Mikoto sighed sadly. You're wrong, my son. Itachi is but a victim. Victim? Screamed Sasuke in outrage. He destroyed the Uchiha clan. Under Konoha's instructions, interrupted Mikoto. Everyone in the room was shocked at what they had just heard, except for Obito, who already knew. What are you talking about? Whispered Sasuke. Mikoto shook her head. I will explain everything to you and Naruto later. Right now there is something we need to do. Which is? Asked Naruto. Mikoto smirked. Giving you the Sharingan. Chapter 9. New gifts and a revelation. How is this possible, said Obito in awe. I don't know, muttered Mikoto, also in shock. For once in her life, Uchiha Mikoto was truly amazed. You see, the operation of transferring the Sharingan eyes to Naruto was just finished. Everything went perfect, well, a little too perfect. A few minutes after the operation, Naruto's new Sharingan eyes started to change. Is the change good? Well, that's a matter of perspective. What? Asked Naruto, who was on the operation table. Did something bad happen? Not really, said Mikoto. She wasn't mad with this outcome. No, what she was mad, almost pissed, was that she wasn't expecting it. She hated when something unexpected happened. Well, in situations like this. In a romantic sense, well, that's a different story. Back with the story. The Rinnegan, said Obito. The what? Asked Naruto. The Rinnegan, repeated Mikoto, is the third Dojutsu in the ninja world. The last known person to have it was the Sage of Six Paths. Mikoto didn't know that Pain was also a wielder because she wasn't all that concerned about the Akatsuki. She did know, however, that the Rinnegan was the last phase of the Sharingan. But in order for that to happen, of course. Thought Mikoto. How could I have missed this? He's in Uzumaki, who are related to the Senju, and add Kyuubi to the mix, there was no doubt in her mind that the Kyuubi had something to do with this. But for what purpose? What could he be planning? Asked Mikoto to herself. Well, she would worry about that later. The Rinnegan, huh? Thought Naruto. Good. Once I've mastered it I should be ready. He wasn't counting Kyuubi's power because he didn't want to rely on it, nor did he think that the Kyuubi would be willing to give it to him. How wrong he was. After you're finished here, we need to talk. About what? Asked Naruto. You'll see. Kyuubi went silent after that. Naruto decided not to ask anything else. Kyuubi sounded serious. Alright then, said Naruto as he hopped out of the operation table, I think we're finished here. I would suggest that you wait a little before you start training, said Mikoto, already guessing what he was going to do. Why not? Asked Naruto. You'll have to let your body become accustomed to your new eyes, she answered. He nodded. Alright, then. One question, how do you turn them off? Just stop channeling your chakra to your eyes. Once he did, his eyes went back to his natural blue eyes. Mikoto also wondered about that. She thought they would have changed color, but it appeared not. I'm gonna go rest then. Naruto left the room to find an unoccupied bedroom in the Uchiha hideout. Well, that was unexpected, commented Obito all of a sudden. Mikoto just rolled her eyes. It wasn't unexpected really. Well, to them it was, but in all logical sense, it was the expected outcome. Whatever. Now if you excuse me, I have something to do. She started to walk out of the room when Obito spoke again. You're gonna tell him about that night, aren't you? Mikoto stopped walking, but didn't turn around. Yes. He deserves to know. Obito sighed. Well, it's your choice. Mikoto walked without saying another word. Everyone stop. Screamed Kakashi. The retrieval team, well this retrieval team, consisting of Kakashi, Pakken, Sakura and Shino, stopped in the middle of a road in the Land of Fire. After losing Sasuke's scent as well as the other scent of the mysterious entity, it was decided that it was best to split into groups to find Itachi faster. And luck would have it, this team just happened to do it. Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame stopped walking and turned to find the 4 Konoha shinobi. Well, said Kisame with a grin, this is our lucky day. Itachi as usual, said nothing. Kakashi made a silent order to Pakken, who understood and left to inform the others. Sakura looked at Itachi. So this is him, she thought, the one who made Sasuke-kun's life a living hell. She clenched her fists. Kakashi, said Itachi in his usual monotone voice, we meet again. Yes we do, replied Kakashi. May I ask what I owe this unexpected visit? Said Itachi, with the least amount of sarcasm. Itachi already had a feeling as to what they wanted. Uchiha Itachi, you are hereby under arrest. Surrender, or we will use force. Kakashi said, feeling stupid. Of course he knew Itachi would never surrender when he could beat all of them, but hey, it was protocol. Itachi and Kisame raised an eyebrow and looked at each other. Then they turned back to the group. Did you really think I would surrender? Asked Itachi, a little amused, even though he didn't show it. Kisame didn't have that much control, so it wasn't a surprise to see him chuckling. Kakashi sighed. No I didn't, he answered honestly, reaching towards his headband. Sakura and Shino also got ready for battle. Kisame chuckled a little more loud while reaching to unstrap Samehada from his back. Konoha shinobi are amusing, he said. Itachi didn't pay attention to that comment. He just activated his Sharingan. Kakashi, already knowing what was going to happen, warned the other two. Don't look at him in his eyes. He shouted. But it was too late. Both Sakura and Shino fell to the ground unconscious. Kakashi didn't have time to check on them, however, as he was forced to block a strike from Kisame as he brought Samehada down on him. You don't have time to look away. He said. Kakashi just cursed in his mind. This is bad. The others better get here soon, or I'm dead. Tsunade-sama. Screamed Shizune as she entered her office. What is it? Asked Tsunade. The Kazuki-age has been captured by the Akatsuki. She screamed. What? Shouted Tsunade as she stood up from her chair. Shizune just nodded. Tsunade cursed in her mind as she sat back in her chair. This is not good news. Damn Akatsuki. What are we going to do, Tsunade-sama? Asked Shizune. I can't send Kakashi since he's not here. In that case, Shizune, bring these 4 to me. Sasuke stood outside the hideout while staring out at nothing. No one can blame him. He just found out that his mother, who he thought died 7 years ago, was alive. Not to mention the fact that it seems Konoha was responsible for the destruction of his clan. He didn't know all the details, as his mother had yet to tell him anything else. So this is where you are, said a voice behind him. He didn't have to turn around to know who it was. Mom, started Sasuke with an emotionless voice, I need to know what happened. Mikoto nodded. This is why she was here, to tell him everything. Alright, but you need to know that the Uchiha clan isn't a saint in this either. Sasuke turned around, silently telling her to continue. Mikoto took a big breath and continued, it all started when the Uchiha clan was forced to move to a secluded area in the village. Of course no one thought anything of it, but this was for the Hokage to keep tabs on the clan. It wasn't long before the clan started to lose more political power, even though we were the police enforcers, something the Nidaime Hokage made to give the clan something. Anyway, it wasn't long before we barely had any power at all. Your father knew this and was infuriated. With Itachi, the clan became more prestigious to say, with him being Anbu captain at 14. But Fugaku saw this as a chance more beneficial to the clan. Mikoto said beneficial with a great amount of sarcasm. Of course at the time I too thought it would be the best course of action. With Itachi as the head of Anbu, we could keep tabs on the village. Of course with the Kyuubi attack, the village leaders became more suspicious of us. At Sasuke's questioning look, she decided to elaborate. The Kyuubi attack was unexpected. It just happened. The Kyuubi was not known to just destroy a village without a reason. It was known however that the Sharingan can control the Kyuubi, well the Mangekyo. The village leaders thought the Uchiha clan was responsible, so they made Itachi spy on us. And Itachi just went with it. Screamed Sasuke, losing his composure. Mikoto sighed. Sasuke, you have to know for a fact that your older brother loved the village a lot, maybe he still does. He grew up during the Third Ninja War, well in the final years, but he still saw a lot of things not meant to be seen by a child. He became a pacifist. Anyway, after that, Fugaku grew more and more impatient with the situation that he decided to form a rebellion. Itachi reported this to the Hokage and the elders. Of course, the Sandaime thought that a peaceful resolution was the best course of action. Danzo, Mikoto said the name with disgust, came up with a better plan. He decided that wiping out the clan was the best course of action. Sasuke was shaking with anger by this point. And Itachi agreed with him. He asked with anger. Mikoto sighed again. As I said, Itachi is a pacifist. He knew if the Uchiha clan had the chance of going through with the rebellion, a lot of innocent people would die. The other nations would probably take this opportunity to gain more territory, probably causing the Fourth Ninja War, making even more people die. Of course Danzo also used Itachi's love for you to finally convince him. Mikoto stopped at this to look at her youngest son. Sasuke's anger disappeared, replaced with confusion. What are you saying? Mikoto smiled sadly. What I'm saying is that Itachi really cares for you. There's no doubt in my mind that he still does. Danzo offered him the choice of wiping out the clan, but sparing you, or him taking side with the Uchiha clan where we would all die, including you. Sasuke could not believe what he was hearing. Itachi cared for him all along. There was always this doubt in the back of his mind that there had to be another explanation as to why Itachi did what he did. And finally it was all making sense. Mikoto continued. After he made his choice, Itachi headed for the compound and the night we're so familiar with happened. I hate the sand, thought Sasori as he and his teammate made their way towards the nearest Akatsuki base so that they could seal the one tail. Speaking of that, Sabaku no Gara was being transported by the clay bird made by Deidara unconscious. He was barely alive, but this was the best he could hope for. He knew capturing an enemy alive was harder than killing him or her, so he couldn't blame Deidara for that. What he was pissed about was the fact that thanks to Deidara's art, nothing could be done secretly. They had already encountered the target's older brother, in which he fought him. The one of course. The puppet user was using puppets he was so familiar with. He created them after all. In all honesty, he was impressed with the puppeteer's skill. If he hadn't created them, he was sure he would have had a tougher fight. In all reality, it wasn't a fair fight. But hey, in the ninja world, nothing was fair. You use everything to your advantage. But enough about that. There was no doubt in Sasori's mind that there would be more encounters with enemy shinobi. When, he didn't know, but he knew they would be happening. Sasori was the kind of man, in figurative manner since his body was a puppet, that didn't like to fight unless he had to. The only reason he joined Akatsuki was for the protection it provided him. But in order to gain something, you have to give something up. Another issue he had was his partner. Why the leader decided to pair them together was beyond Sasori's comprehension. They were both opposites. Deidara liked to do things the flashy way, as to say that he knew nothing about stealth. He would have rather being paired with Itachi. He was alright in Sasori's book, besides murdering his entire clan. But hey, he turned people into puppets, hell he even made himself into a puppet, so who was he to judge somebody else? Finally I'm getting out of the sand with that, he made his way toward his objective, Deidara following him. Water style. Water bullet. Earth style. Mud wall. Both techniques clashed, the mud wall coming victorious. Isam smirked before dashing forward at incredible speed at Kakashi, who barely managed to dodge the giant sword, or so he thought. Kakashi gritted his teeth, feeling the loss of his chakra. Kisame chuckled while holding Samehada, which has making weird sounds. Samehada's specialty is the fact that it can absorb chakra. It's almost impossible to dodge. Kakashi was getting more worried as the fight continued. He was losing too much chakra. Add to the fact that Itachi hadn't done anything except to trap Shino and Sakura in a Jinjutsu, knocking them unconscious. Even Sakura couldn't dispel Jinjutsu at that caliber. Where is everyone else? Thought Kakashi worriedly. He lost his train go thought as he was forced to dodge another strike from Kisame, who was getting bored. Don't be spacing out on me. He screamed as he went in with another barrage of strikes as Kakashi evaded them or blocked them with a kunai. Kisame went in with a low kick as it made a direct hit on Kakashi, who was pushed back and got the wind knocked out of him at the sheer force of it. Kisame did another set of seals. Water style. Water shark bullet. Kakashi jumped out of the way of the jutsu before doing the exact same seals. Water style. Water shark bullet. Kisame merely smirked before he too jumped out of the way. Still copying jutsus I see. Well, I shouldn't be surprised considering the fact that you're known as copycat Kakashi, said Kisame. Kisame, said Itachi. Kisame looked back at him. What? We don't have time for this, said Itachi. Kisame merely grunted as he was just getting started. Before he could say anything, he was alerted at the sound of movement. He was proven to be right as the rest of the retrieval team landed. Kakashi merely sighed in relief. Oh, more company, said Kisame with a grin. Kakashi, you okay? Asked Asuma. Well, Ino and Kurenai went to check on Sakura and Shino. Yay, I'm almost out of chakra though, replied Kakashi. We'll handle this, said, well screamed Guy. Kisame narrowed his eyes when he saw him. It would seem I've been given the opportunity to pay you back, said Kisame with a feral grin while pointing Samehada at him. I looked uncertain. Do I know you? Everyone except for Itachi and Kisame sweat dropped. Kisame was about to retort when he was interrupted yet again. Itachi, Kisame, you are hereby ordered to retreat. The voice of pain said. Itachi didn't say anything, but Kisame was pissed. Why? Tadara and Sasori are almost at the designated location. We need to start the sealing of the One-Tails immediately. All of the older Jounin paled at the implication the Kazuki-age was captured. DCH was all that Kisame said as he placed Samehada in his back. He turned toward the Konoha shinobi. You got lucky this time, but next time we meet I will kill you. With that he disappeared, along with Itachi. Kakashi-sensei, what do we do? Asked Kiba. Before he could answer, a hawk soaring towards them drew their attention. And that's how it is, said Mikoto. Sasuke didn't say anything. He just looked at the ground. Mikoto merely stared at him, with no emotions in her face. Do you hate him? Asked Sasuke. Mikoto raised an eyebrow, so Sasuke elaborated. Do you hate Itachi? Mikoto looked surprised for a second before it disappeared. Then she chuckled. Interesting question. Sasuke raised his head so he could see her in the eye. Mikoto was quiet for a few seconds, then she answered. No, I don't hate him. He did what he thought was best. Does that mean he will go unpunished? Hell no. Mikoto smiled sweetly, a little too sweet. Me and him are going to have a long discussion when I see him again. The way she said discussion made Sasuke shudder. It reminded him of why he was scared of her when he was younger. Now do you hate him? Asked Mikoto back. Sasuke answered immediately. No, I don't. Now that I know the truth, Konoha is the only thing I hate. Sasuke said that with all the anger that he had. Mikoto smiled. She had one of her sons back. Albeit, they were going to cause a lot of destruction, but hey, she's happy. Mind telling me what this is about? Asked Naruto as he appeared in his mind. Kyuubi was silent for a few moments. I was the one who made it possible for you to get the Rinnegan, he finally said. Naruto merely raised an eyebrow at him. Is that so important that I had to come down here in person? That's not all he has to say, said Dark Naruto as he appeared from the shadows. Naruto glanced at him for a second before turning his attention back to Kyuubi. Kyuubi sighed. The whelp is right. Dark Naruto just scoffed at the name. The reason you have the Rinnegan is because you have both the Senju blood and now the Sharingan. Of course, even with the Sharingan, it wouldn't have been possible for you to have the Rinnegan all of a sudden, since it is the last phase of the Sharingan. So while the operation was going on, I made it so that the process would be moved forward while skipping all of the other phases. Naruto just listened. Well, I'm grateful, it doesn't explain why I'm here, he finally said. Dark Naruto chuckled. Naruto looked back at him, and he stared right back. This is where it gets interesting. Naruto looked confused before looking at Kyuubi again. Kyuubi took a longer pause before looking at Naruto intently and serious. I have decided to cooperate with you. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. You already are. So I don't. Naruto's eyes widened when he realized what he was really saying. Kyuubi nodded his head. It seems you understand. There is no need for us to fight. I have already deemed you worthy of receiving my power. Naruto could not believe what he was hearing. Of course it didn't last very long. 5 seconds later, he was grinning darkly, matching his dark counterpart. Once he mastered both the Kyuubi's power and the Rinnegan, he would be strong enough to finally destroy Konoha. Naruto looked at Kyuubi. Kyuubi, thank you. And he wasn't talking about just the fact he was giving him his chakra. It was for everything he did, the training, the truth. Naruto wondered for a second how he would have been if he stayed with Jiraiya before destroying the thought. It didn't matter to him anymore. Kyuubi looked at him before he came to a decision. From now on, call me Kurama. At his confused look, he explained. That is the name that was given to me. I'd prefer if you call me that rather than what the other pathetic flesh bags do. Both Narutos chuckled at that. Alright then, Kurama. Naruto made his way towards the cage. Kurama looked confused, while Dark Naruto already knew what he was going to do but wasn't going to try to stop him. What are you doing? Naruto didn't respond as he floated until he was high enough to where the seal was. Naruto looked at him. I'm going to get you out of that cage. Naruto gripped the seal and was about to tear it when a hand grabbed his and stopped him from doing it. Three pair of eyes widened as Naruto was pushed back to the sour water. Kurama narrowed his eyes in anger. Dark Naruto laughed. But it wasn't one of his regular laughs when he's screwing around. It was one full of malice. Well, if it isn't our dear daddy. The individual that stopped Naruto was none other than Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage, in all his glory. Chapter 10. A Mother's Love. You're late, said Pain as he appeared before Deidara and Sasori as they entered the hideout. It wasn't our fault, said Deidara. The Jinchuriki proved to be stronger than we anticipated. Sasori didn't say anything. Pain merely stared at them for a few seconds before replying, it matters not. We must begin the extraction immediately. He turned his back to them and faced the inside of the cave. He went through a couple of seals before bringing his hands down to the ground, softly saying, summoning jutsu. A statue rose from the ground, or more precisely, the Jito statue. It is time we assemble. One by one, figures started to appear above each finger. Deidara's clay bird dropped Gaara on the ground before it disappeared. Then, he, along with Sasori, took their place in their respected fingers. And yay, I know it sounds weird. Pain's hologram then appeared in his respected spot. He looked at the rest of the members. We shall now commence the sealing of the One Tails. Like before, it will take 3 days and 3 nights. Haiden snorted from his spot. This is such a pain in the ass. Don't you have a quicker method of doing this, leader? He said Pain's title with so much sarcasm, anyone could have detected it. No one knew how Haiden got away with so much disrespect, but they weren't about to question it. Pain glanced at his direction. You should be grateful that it isn't longer than it is. This is the fastest way possible, so deal with it. Yeah, but if Orochimaru were still here, it wouldn't take this long, said Kisame from his spot. He was still a little irritated that he wasn't able to kill any of the Konoha shinobi, especially the beast one. But he knew he would have more chances, so he didn't dwell on it too much. True. But since he's not, this is the best we can hope for. Now, no more questions. We need to start immediately. He then looked at Zetsu. Have your real body stand guard and make sure no one sneaks up on us. Have the one with the longest range do it. Understood. He then turned his attention to everyone else. Keep your real bodies in check as well. It wouldn't be good if you were suddenly ambushed. The others nodded. Pain nodded to himself, content. Then let's begin. Naruto had learned to keep his emotions in check during his training. It wouldn't be good if an enemy could rile him up. He would be an easy target no matter how much training or how strong he got. That was something Kurama had drilled into him. But right now, no matter how much he tried, not that he was trying too much, he couldn't but let all his anger out. Why, you ask? Because the person who was responsible for his fucked up life was standing right in front of him. The Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato, stared at his son sadly. He knew everything that had happened. He had seen what his son had did and what he was planning on doing. Some part of him couldn't blame him, but it was overruled by his Hokage side. He wouldn't allow his village to be in danger, even from his own son. Naruto, he began to say, whatever he was going to say was cut off as he was punched straight in the face, sending him back all the way to the cage, his back impacting hard with it. It was thanks to his shinobi instincts that he had built during the war that he was able to jump out of the way as a claw pierced through between the bars, despite the pain he felt. As he landed, he looked at Naruto, who was the one responsible for the punch. Instead of his natural blue eyes, the Kyuubi's ruby eyes stared back at him, filled with hatred and malice. Naruto was shaking in anger. All he wanted to do was to tear the Yondaime in pieces. He wouldn't acknowledge that he was his father. He lost that privilege the moment he sealed Kyuubi into him. Dark Naruto wasn't faring so well either. He could feel his power growing. He had never felt so strong in his life. But he wasn't paying much attention to that fact. He, as well as Naruto, only had one thing on their mind: to kill the person right in front of them. As for Kurama, he was sharing the same thought process as the first two, except more graphic. Yondaime, he began, come here so that I can rip you to shreds. Minato looked back at him. In that case, I'll stay away. He then turned his attention back to Naruto. Yondaime Hokage, he said in a deadly tone, I'm honored to have been graced by your presence. May I ask as to how you're here? Minato looked down before explaining. I placed some of my chakra in the seal formula so that I would appear if 8 tails of the Kyuubi's power ever broke out of the seal or if the Kyuubi ever manipulated you to break the seal. He then looked back at Kurama again. I don't know how you did it, but I won't let you poison my son with your lies anymore. Kurama just roared at him in anger, angry because he couldn't do anything to him. Naruto then started to chuckle, but it was a chuckle that matched his counterpart's earlier one full of malice. Lies. He said. He looked at Minato with Kurama's ruby ones. You got it wrong, father. He spat out the title with a lot of disgust, making Minato flinch. The only lies I have been told have come from that hellhole of a village. He screamed. Son, you don't understand, he said, trying to ease his son's anger. Understand what? Why we were used as scapegoats for something we never had control in. Screamed Dark Naruto in anger. And don't you dare call me son. Continued Naruto. As far as I'm concerned, you're just another Konoha shinobi who ruined not only my life, but betrayed my clan as well. Minato could not believe this was happening. He didn't think his son could ever become someone like this. He had thought he was going to choose a different path. I didn't know what else to do, he said. I thought this was the best solution to save the village. Naruto's anger increased at that. Of course, all you care about is that damn village, even putting it before your flesh and blood. Minato smiled sadly. That's what it means to be Hokage. I am sorry for everything that happened. I never wanted for you to suffer like that. Then, he turned serious, taking out his special Hiraishin kunai. But I won't allow you to destroy the village. Even if it kills my heart, I will stop you. Naruto just shook his head. To think you would go this far, no, I shouldn't be surprised after everything you already did. Minato said nothing. Dark Naruto suddenly stood next to Naruto before they started to merge with each other. Well then I guess we better get started. Let's hurry, we're almost at the rendezvous point. Said Kakashi as he and the rest of the retrieval team headed to their appointed location. I can't believe the Akatsuki are moving so quickly, thought Kakashi. He then glanced at his team, or more specifically, Sakura. She had been silent ever since she had been woken up after having the Jinjutsu removed. He suspected that she was angry for losing so easily. After all, it only took Itachi a mere glance and she was defeated. He shook his head. He had other important matters to worry about. Sakura sighed quietly to herself as she hopped from tree to tree. She was berating herself for her embarrassing defeat. She had trained so hard for the last 2 years, but it looked as if nothing had changed. No, she thought to herself, they are just too strong for me. How am I ever going to go against people like that? How am I ever going to catch up to Sasuke and Naruto? Her mood dampened when that thought crossed her mind. She was too weak to bring them together once again. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she knew that was true. But she still refused to accept it. Somehow, I'm going to get them back to Konoha, back home, where they belong. With that, the retrieval team continued its path to their target. Uchiha Obito stood on top of the Uchiha hideout, staring at the clouds. He could not believe how quickly things changed. Once upon a time, he was a Konoha shinobi, ready to give his life for the sake of the village. Now, I think I used to be like that. Obito shook his head. His thoughts then drifted towards the only girl he ever loved. I still can't believe she died. But still, I guess it's better this way. There was no doubt that she would have probably sided with the village. Then, he would have been forced to kill her, something he didn't think he could do. His hand instinctively went to his left eye, the same eye he had given to Kakashi. Did he regret it? He would be lying if he said no, but it wasn't a complete yes either. But now he had new eyes and was stronger than ever. He could take any cage and beat him or her. He could hold his own against two, but further than that, it was beyond his skill. He knew that he wouldn't stand a chance against the real Uchiha Madara. He doubted if there were any shinobi who could, beside the Shodai Hokage. Except for the Uzumaki kid, now he had the Rinnegan, which would make him stronger than ever. And there was also the Kyuubi's chakra. But Obito doubted the tailed beast would lend it to him, considering how the beast was. But then again, it would seem Kyuubi was content with where he was presently in, so there was a chance he might cooperate with the kid. But that is not my problem. Minato grunted in pain as he hit one of the sewer walls with a large impact, creating a crack in it. He disappeared in a yellow flash as a fist suddenly appeared. Naruto reappeared in front of him in a black flash and aimed for a kick as Minato blocked it before taking his special kunai and bringing towards Naruto, who blocked with it his own before he disappeared in another black flash, reappearing on the other side of the room. What is this? Thought Minato. He's as fast as I am. But how? I never knew he could be that fast. And he's not even using any type of seals. Kurama watched the fight seriously, already knowing what had happened. When they merged, Dark Naruto's abilities got transferred to Naruto as well. Which would mean Naruto can control darkness right now. This should be interesting. Now, which is faster, darkness or the flash? Minato and Naruto suddenly went head-on against each other before Minato disappeared in a yellow flash and reappearing behind Naruto, a Rasengan in his hand. It's over, he thought sadly as he went in for the kill. Rasengan. As the technique was about to hit, Naruto disappeared, showing up below Minato with a dark grin and a dark Rasengan in ready. Minato's eyes widen. Shit. Not fast enough he wasn't able to finish or react in time as Naruto's Rasengan hit him straight on his abdomen. Dark Rasengan. Minato screamed in pain as he hit the ceiling, blood coming out of the impact zone, as well as his mouth. Naruto looked up before destroying the Hiraishin seal that was on his back with his dark chakra. He stepped sideways as Minato fell, face first on the ground. Naruto looked at him before picking him up by the throat. He held him there and Minato felt more extreme pain as his windpipe was being crushed. I wish I could make you feel more pain, because believe me, this is nothing to what I have felt, said Naruto with his demonic voice full of hatred, as well as his eyes. Minato could do nothing, already knowing that he had lost. A part of him was proud, knowing that his son was already stronger than him while being so young, before it was replaced with sadness already knowing what he was going to do with that power. Then before anything else happened, the room was covered in a bright light. Once it died down, they all looked towards where it came from. Minato suddenly felt hope rise within him. He had forgotten that he had also done this, but now there is some hope after all, he thought. Naruto just narrowed his eyes until they widened in shock. There was a person visible, and that person was none other than Uzumaki Kushina. Mikoto and her youngest son were walking throughout the hideout, trying to find where one Uzumaki Naruto was. Are you sure he's not going to go against us? Asked Sasuke, already knowing, or thinking that he knew, how the blonde felt about Konoha. Mikoto sighed. Yes, he is. He's not the same person you once knew, Sasuke. He wants to destroy Konoha for the same reason we do. Sasuke froze at that. What do you mean? Mikoto turned and faced him. His clan was also betrayed by Konoha. Naruto's mother and my best friend, Uzumaki Kushina, was what they wanted. She arrived a few days before her homeland was attacked and destroyed. Konoha did nothing to help them. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if they knew the attack was coming. But what would they want with her? Asked Sasuke with curiosity. She had special chakra, even among the Uzumaki clan. Hence the reason she was chosen to be the next Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi. Sasuke's eyes widened at that, but didn't say anything, instead listened to the rest. Konoha figured that they could just recreate the clan in the village, and they were going to get a powerful weapon as well, so it was a win-win situation for them, said Mikoto with anger. Kushina didn't know this however, so she became loyal to Konoha, and afterwards she fell in love with Namikaze Minato, the future Yondaime, and they had Naruto. Sasuke's eyes widened further at that. I think Naruto was also the son of the Yondaime. That is as far as I'm going to tell you. You want to know more? Asked Naruto. Sasuke nodded. But unknown to them, one Naruto had heard everything. Stealth was her best skill, which is why she was the best assassin in all of Kumo, after all. She then reappeared in the room she currently picked to stay in, while they waited on what to do next. Her eyes were widened at the information she just learned. I think he's… Yes, that is surprising, but that only makes him more desirable, aren't I right, Yujito-chan? Said Nibi from within her mind, purring. Yujito's eyes twitched in anger. Is that the only thing you think about? Sex. That's all that matters. Was the response she got. Yujito shook her head before she became serious. The Raikage needs to know about this. Naruto, for the second time, could not believe his eyes. His grip on Minato loosened, but Minato was too injured to try anything. The only thing he could count was that Kushina could manage to make Naruto's anger disappear. What he didn't know was that if Kushina found out that Konoha didn't even lift a finger to help her clan, oh boy. Kushina's eyes opened before she looked around. The last thing she remembered was pleading to Minato to not seal the Kyuubi within their newborn son when her eyes widened. She needed to find her son. But where was she? As she scanned the room, her eyes landed on two similar-looking blondes, except one had blue eyes, while the other one had red ruby eyes, almost crimson, and that he had 3 whisker marks in each cheek. Her eyes widened when she took that detail in. The only person to have whiskers and blonde hair was her baby boy. But wait a second, what the hell was going on? She then recognized the other blonde as Minato. But it seemed as if he was being chalked by their son. Hey Kushina, said Minato, barely. At the sound of his voice, Naruto's grip around his throat tightened again, making Minato puke out more blood. Kushina was even more confused now. Just how did this happen? What's going on here? She asked. Naruto turned his attention towards her, but still keeping his tight grip on Minato's throat. He had to say, he had one hot mother. Her long red hair, which just like Mikoto, reached all the way towards her ass, which he could tell was nice and round, and had a nice body as well with just the right curves, even if what she was wearing wasn't sexy. Her looks alone made it look sexy. And that's saying something. Mom, said Naruto in a whispered tone, but in the silenced room as well as the sour walls bouncing the sound of his voice, it was audible. Is that really you? Kushina nodded happily, glad to see her son. Then she remembered that Minato told her he was going to seal her soul to help Naruto battle Kyuubi. But it didn't seem that was happening. Then why was she out here? She then took notice of Minato and the state he was in. Just what is going on here? She asked once again, shock evident in her beautiful face. It's complicated, answered Naruto, not sure what to say. Kushina, never thought I would see you again, said Kurama with a grin. Kushina looked at Kyuubi, but turned her attention back to her son. I want to know everything. Jiraiya looked dead serious at the information he had just received. It would seem two individuals had also been asking about Naruto. At first he thought it was Akatsuki, but under the description he had gotten, one was female and the other was male. Now, he didn't know of any female members in Akatsuki, but that didn't mean there weren't any, but apparently they weren't wearing the standard Akatsuki uniform. He didn't get any faces as it seemed that they were wearing black cloaks and didn't show their faces to anyone. Jiraiya sighed as he ran a hand through his hair. As if things weren't bad enough already. His godson already had the Akatsuki after him, now he's got two more individuals to worry about. As he walked through the streets, he decided to take a break. He entered a dango shop that looked to serve good food. He sat at one of the back tables before thinking over everything that he knew. The Akatsuki hadn't captured Naruto yet, that much he was sure of because they didn't know where he was. But it wouldn't stay away for long. It would only be a matter of time before they found him. And he didn't know if he had gotten any stronger. Jiraiya looked sad at that. Why would he leave? He thought sadly. If only he knew what the blonde was thinking or where he was. Naruto, just what are you planning on doing? Welcome sir. May I take your order? Asked a cute young waitress. Jiraiya smirked. Why, yes you may. Danzo paced around his room in one of his many root bases. Things were not going good as of late. First with the Kyuubi boy disappearing, his operatives being taken out by an unknown, and now the Ichibi would be in the grasp of the Akatsuki. That would be another tailed beast in their possession. They were progressing a lot faster than he anticipated. And if they captured the Kyuubi, Danzo clenched his hand that was holding his cane. There was no way he was going to lose something as powerful as the Kyuubi. He needed it for his plans. If only Sarutobi had let him train the boy, but it was too late for that. Danzo sat in one of his chairs. What could his next move be? He needed to be careful. He couldn't afford any more mistakes. Kushina was currently in too much shock. Why? Because she currently learned of everything that had happened and more. She could not believe that the place she called home betrayed her like that. But not only her, but her entire clan. And of the life her son had lived. But in her mind, she knew it would happen. She was a Jinchuriki as well. She told Minato this would happen. Naruto just stared at his mother. Even though he wanted nothing more than to just embrace her, there was the chance that she could side with Konoha. And he would never let something as affection stop him. He had never had it in his entire life and didn't need it now. No, the time for affections was well past. During his childhood, that's when he needed. Not now. Not in the future. Minato's coughing brought them back to reality. Naruto narrowed his eyes in anger. It was time he finished him. But before that, the clone came out of the darkness. It made its way towards the cage and the seal before ripping it. The mechanism turned clockwise and the gates opened. Kushina just looked on. And no, said Minato weakly. Why wasn't Kushina doing something? Kurama grinned as he made his way out of the cage. Minato stared at him, fear evident in his eyes. Well, Kurama. You also wanted a piece of him. I'm already tired of this. Kurama just nodded. Naruto threw Minato towards him and the last thing he saw was big white teeth. While Kurama was enjoying playing with his food, Naruto faced his mother and walked towards her. He stopped when he was right in front of her. So this is who I am. My goal is to destroy Konoha. I won't rest till everyone in that village is dead. So, what do you say, Kasan, are you going to join me? Said Naruto as he extended his hand. Kushina looked at his hand before staring at him. Konoha was my home. I once thought I owed them for everything they did for me. But finding this out she then looked at him straight in the eyes. Is this what you really want? To destroy the very people you once called friends? Naruto nodded. He had already come to terms with it a long time ago. Then Kushina took his hand. Then yes, I will join you. She smiled. Naruto smiled back. But it wasn't a fake one. It was one of those few moments in which he really did smile. The Kushina embraced him. Softly she said, Naruto, no matter what, remember that I love you. More than anything in the world. Chapter 11. Right or wrong is a matter of perspective. These are the last of them, Tsunade-sama, said Shizune as she brought a relatively small stack of paper. Now you might be wondering if this was the usual paperwork that caused all cages to hate the job. If it were any other given day, or probably week, you would have been right. But not today. Thank you, Shizune, responded Tsunade as she scanned through the book that was currently in her hand. It looked old and worn out, which was no surprise considering how old it was. If I may ask, Tsunade-sama, began Shizune as she looked at the two medium-sized stacks of paper on the desk, what exactly are you looking for? Tsunade sighed before she put the book down on her desk. She placed her elbows on her desk, folded her hands together, and looked at her oldest apprentice. What I'm about to tell you is top secret. You are not to tell anyone, understood? She said seriously. Shizune nodded. She rarely saw her master like this, and when it was important. I discovered this accidentally. If it weren't for Danzo sending his lackeys out, I would never have found this out. She took a pause before she continued. Since it became clear that that old goat was still up to his old games and that he still had his root division active, I decided to look through Sensei's old files, see what he had on root so that I could finish that program, hence why I asked you to bring them. Shizune nodded, understanding so far. While looking through them, I found this hidden within them. She picked the old book up. What is it? Asked Shizune. It turns out to be Sensei's diary, everything that he kept record of. Tsunade looked down at that. Shizune could see she was sad, but for what reason? What was in it? She finally asked. Tsunade sighed. Everything. Everything since the Second Shinobi War, which is when he started it, to his death. I don't know what it was doing inside those documents, but it doesn't matter. Tsunade shook her head. How could I have been so foolish? I should have known, she muttered to herself. Shizune became even more confused. Tsunade-sama, what are you talking about? Tsunade looked at her apprentice. Turns out I was right. This place really is a hellhole. Naruto woke up with a start, finding the stares of both Uchiha Mikoto and Uchiha Sasuke. Finally awake, dope. You know who said that? Naruto mentally chuckled, the nickname bringing memories of when they were a team. Outwardly, he asked, when did you get here? Mikoto decided to answer. Oh, about a couple of hours ago. She raised one of her eyebrows. What were you doing, anyway? I know for a fact that you weren't asleep, more like in deep concentration. Naruto didn't answer, instead getting out of bed and putting a black shirt on, the Shodai's crystal necklace underneath. He already had his black Anbu pants on. Oh, nothing. Just had to take care of some personal business, he finally said. Sasuke and Mikoto just looked at him with curiosity, but he didn't say anything else, instead walking out of the room, the two Uchihas having no choice but to follow. The truth was that after Kurama had enjoyed his meal and mother and son had stopped their embrace, the two decided to get to know each other, hoping to get to make up for lost time. They were also trying to find a way to give energy to Kushina's soul once it ran out of chakra. The two had lost track of time and would have continued if it weren't for the interruption. So, began Mikoto, what will our next move be? Sasuke stayed quiet, trying to see if his mother was right about the blonde. Naruto gave her a glance before looking forward. For right now I'm going to train with my new eyes. And Kurama's power, he mentally added. Oh, I didn't know Miko-chan was here, said Kushina from within his mind. And, oh my, she doesn't look any older than the last time I saw her. Oh yeah, I gotta agree with you on that, said Dark Naruto, but then again, you're a real beauty as well. Kushina giggled. Why thank you for the compliment. Dark Naruto grinned, not that the original could see. No problem. Kurama quietly grumbled to himself. Oh dear lord, now I have to deal with this. Naruto mentally shook his head at his other self, not quite believing that he would see their mother like that, even if he agreed, not that he would say that out loud. We need to talk, he said to his other self seriously. Oh, said Dark Naruto, not surprised, and what, pray tell, do we need to talk about? Later was all he said. Dark Naruto grinned to himself. Of course he knew what he wanted to talk about. They were the same, after all. Sasuke looked at Naruto, not quite believing that he was the same person as the one he once knew. But not only that, he seemed stronger than ever, probably even than himself. And now he had a strong Dojutsu, which would make him stronger. He clenched his left hand, irritated at that fact. Their rivalry was still present even after 2 years, stronger if I were to say so myself, and him finding out that he was that far ahead, well you could see why he was irritated. Mikoto glanced at her younger son, already knowing what was troubling him. This is something that is not needed at the moment, she thought to herself. Indeed, trouble within the group could cause major consequences. For the time being, they should not be together, she mentally grinned. Well, I was planning on having my entire family reunion, anyways. Well then, while you do that, me and Sasuke have something to do, she said out loud. Sasuke's rivalry thoughts left at the moment, replaced by confusion. Now it was Naruto's turn to raise an eyebrow. And what might that be? He asked her. Mikoto chuckled. It's something personal. Now Sasuke understood. Naruto nodded. Suit yourself, he said. Oh, and Obito will be staying with you, along with that Kumo bitch. Naruto sweat dropped at what she called Yujito. Kumo bitch? Who's that? Asked Kushina. Oh, that's just another beauty. Don't worry, you'll meet her soon. Naruto nodded again. With that, Mikoto and Sasuke started to walk away. What do you think they're gonna do? I don't know, and I don't care. I have a Rinnegan to master, as well as your power, Kurama. Kurama nodded. With shadow clones, it will be faster, but it doesn't mean it's gonna be easier. Naruto said nothing. Mikoto, Sasuke, Obito, and Team Hibi were standing outside the Uchiha hideout in the Land of Lightning. "So you're leaving?" asked Obito. Mikoto nodded. "Yes. It shouldn't take too long. And keep your eye on that idiot to make sure he doesn't overdo it, as well as that little kitty cat." Obito nodded, quite amused at their conquest against each other. But hey, who doesn't enjoy cat fights? Once he left, she turned to Team Hibi. "Alright then, our mission is quite simple." She took a pause. "Our mission is to find one Uchiha Itachi." The team weren't all that surprised. Besides, that was their mission before it was interrupted by this reunion. "So what are we gonna do?" asked Sujetsu. "Are we gonna split up again and see what we can find?" Mikoto shook her head. "That won't be necessary. Even though I don't really care what Akatsuki's goal is or what they're up to, I still needed to keep tabs on my older son. We just need to contact one of my contacts and we'll find him." "Well, that will make this easier," thought Karen. Juugo agreed with her also. Sujetsu was just subtly checking Sasuke's mom out. Well, Mikoto knew what he was doing but didn't bother to stop him. "I didn't know you kept a spy network," Mikoto smirked. "Well, I do, and while not as great as Jiraiya's, it gets the job done. Now let's move." The five disappeared. Naruto watched them leave from the rooftop. She had already sent her message to the Raikage, but without receiving a reply, she would just have to stay here for the moment. "Not that it will be a problem," said Nibi. Naruto sighed. "What do you want now?" she said. "It's not what I want, but what you want." "What are you talking about?" asked Naruto, quite confused. "Oh, you can't lie to me, kitten. I know that you want nothing more than to just ride that man till you die. I've seen your recent dreams, after all." Naruto blushed. "You what?" Nibi shrugged. "Well, I was bored, Sue. I can't believe you. We need to have a serious talk about privacy." "Hey, you're the one who had the dreams, so don't blame me. All I did was take a peek maybe." Naruto just grumbled to herself, the blush still in place, as she walked back inside the hideout. Shizune could not believe what she just heard. She knew her master hated the village until she met Naruto. Well, she knew for a fact that somewhere deep inside that she still did and that Naruto was the only one keeping her here. It was a miracle she hadn't left yet. Maybe she was hoping that Naruto was going to return. "Tsunade-sama, just what is inside that journal?" asked Shizune. Tsunade stood up from her chair and walked to one of the windows, looking down at the village. "It turns out that they knew all along but didn't do anything," she said. This confused Shizune even more. "Knew what?" Tsunade sighed. "Kiri, Iwa and Kumo were planning on attacking Yuzu. It was pretty obvious why." Shizune looked down, starting to understand. "Because they were becoming too powerful." Tsunade nodded. "Yes. They feared that they would become strong enough to take all of them out and with their alliance, Konoha would benefit. Hell, Konoha was already benefiting. But that's not the point. It seems that a few days before the attack was to commence, one Konoha spy in Kiri learned of the information and sent it back here as soon as possible. At first they were contemplating on whether or not to help them." She chuckled, except that it was dead. To think that they were contemplating instead of immediately helping them. Selfish bastards, all of them. She shook her head. In the end, they decided it was too risky and didn't do anything. It was shortly after the Second Shinobi War, so they didn't want to lose any more resources. Besides, they already had what they wanted. Shizune's head went up at that. Which was what? Kushina, of course. Even though her back was turned, Tsunade could see the confusion on her apprentice's face. She had arrived a few days prior, as unscheduled, as she was to be made the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. With her, they already had a powerful weapon in their hands. Apparently they were also scared of the Uzumakas. Like the other villages, they feared that maybe one day Yuzu would turn against them. Idiots. If they would have used their heads they would have realized how stupid that sounded. Shizune was at loss of words. To think the village she loved could do this. They also came up with the idea that they could just rebuild the clan in Konoha where they could control it. And Kushina was none the wiser. She became the second host as planned and a good Konoha shinobi. It all made sense to Tsunade. Why her grandmother never allowed for her to be checked by her. She always had her suspicions but decided to never act on them. And the Sandaime went along with this? Asked Shizune. But of course. In his mind, he was doing the right thing, the best for the village, not knowing that he was also betraying his teachers, as well as the very founder of this village. Tears were coming out of Tsunade's eyes by this point. How could she have been so foolish? She should have known that there was no way that Konoha didn't know. Even before Jiraiya, Konoha had a good spy network. To think her grandmother was betrayed like this in Naruto. Oh, Naruto. If he ever found out about this, is that why he left? She asked to herself. Because he somehow found out about this. Tsunade closed her eyes tightly, but the tears still came. Shizune just had her head down, not knowing what to say. But what could she say? What will I do? Thought Tsunade. What will I do? Thank you very much, said Baki in gratitude. Yes, you don't know how much this means to us, said Temari. You can thank us once we get him back, said Inuzuka Hana. Izuki Yugao nodded. Yes. But don't worry, we will complete this mission. The team Tsunade dispatched was composed of Hana, codenamed Dog, Yugao, codenamed Cat, Tenzo, the captain, codenamed Yamato, and nameless Anbu, whose skill apparently was good enough to be here, codenamed Eagle, and Hana's triplets. They were all wearing the standard Anbu uniform, along with the mask, well except for the dogs. Yamato clapped his hands together. Well then, let's get a move on. The other three nodded. Just as they were about to leave, movement caught their eye. And it happened to be none other than the Itachi Sasuke retrieval team. As they arrived at the entrance to the sand village, Yamato stepped up. Kakashi-senpai, it seems you made it in time. Kakashi nodded, feeling refreshed after a soldier pill. Yes. For a moment, I thought we weren't going to. He then took the rest of the team in, recognizing them instantly. He used to be an Anbu, after all. He felt a lot better to have them with the team. Temari gazed at the newly arrived shinobi before realizing Naruto wasn't there. Voicing her observation, she asked, if I may ask, where is Naruto? The rookies all flinched at the question, looking down. Kakashi, too, looked away. Sakura decided to answer. Temari, he left the village 2 years ago. Temari's eyes widened at the answer. In her mind, there was no way the little grunt would ever leave. Kakashi decided to intervene. I know you have questions, but they're gonna have to wait. We have a mission to complete. Temari nodded. Well then team, let's move. Wait a moment. Somebody screamed. The team, Baki and Temari turned to find Elder Chiyo walking towards them. I shall accompany you. But Lady Chiyo, you retired a long time ago, said Baki. Chiyo shook her head. It would seem as if I have to come out of retirement. Besides, there needs to be a sand shinobi present for this. Gaara is our cage, not theirs. Baki just sighed, knowing he wasn't going to win. Kakashi just looked at her and nodded before turning to the rest of the team. Let's go. As they left, Temari wished she could go with them, but knew she couldn't as she had a stupid border patrol mission ordered by those idiots in the council. One question came to her mind though: why would you leave, Uzumaki Naruto? Danzo could not keep the scowl out of his face. Are you sure, Fu? He asked one of his best subordinates. Yes, Danzo-sama. Danzo's hand on his cane almost broke it. Another mistake. Another fucking mistake. That Senju woman would now know everything. If only he had known that she was investigation, better if he had known where the Sandame's journal was. He never expected to be hidden in the open. What was that old fool thinking? He though angrily. What could he do now? He didn't know what Tsunade would do. If she left, his visible eye widened. Yes. This could be his chance at last. If she left, he could become Hokage at last. He would find the Kyuubi and bring it back to Konoha where it belonged. As well as the Uchiha. Then the clan would be recreated under his control. The only problem was Akatsuki. But it didn't matter. As long as he had the Kyuubi, their plan wouldn't come to be achieved. Yes, thought Danzo, this could work to my advantage. Now Tsunade, all you have to do is run away like you did last time. Then, my time shall come. Everything was eerie silent within the Akatsuki hideout, except for the sound of the extraction of the Ichibi within Gaara. But Uchiha Itachi wasn't paying attention to that. No, he was too much in thought. He had a feeling in his gut that something messed up was going to happen. He didn't know why he had that feeling, just that it was there. But what could happen? There wasn't really anything that could shock him at this point. Well, except for Naruto. He had rightfully earned the title of the most unpredictable ninja for sure. The blonde was an enigma, even to Itachi. But he knew sooner or later they were going to meet. The blonde was his target after all. We'll see then if you have really gotten stronger. He subtly looked at the members. It wouldn't be long for casualties to occur. He was amazed no one had died yet, but it was going to happen. Not to mention the fact that his time was running short. He was going to have to face Sasuke as well. But he was really interested in meeting Naruto once before that happened. Itachi mentally shook his head. It had been a while that he was interested in something. He cleared his head out of any thoughts. For the moment he had to keep up his cover. He didn't want to kill the boy, heck he didn't want to kill any of the Jinchuriki, but it was a sacrifice for the greater good. Just like he did that night 7 years ago. Naruto appeared within his mind once again. What are you doing here? Asked Kushina. I thought you were going to train. I am, said Naruto, but first I have to clear something with him. He gestured towards his counterpart who was leaning against the wall, his eyes closed. Dark Naruto smirked before opening his eyes and looking at him. So, what is it? Kurama decided to just watch this unfold. It's about time you and me clear this situation once and for all, said Naruto. What situation? Asked Kushina, looking between the two. Isn't it obvious? said Dark Naruto before he gave his full attention to his other self. You've also felt it then? It was more of a statement than a question. Naruto nodded. Yes, I have. When we merged, I felt better than ever, even now. Dark Naruto smirked once again. But of course. I'm the completion of your soul, and you are mine. When we connected, we became a whole, complete, making us one once again. Naruto took a step forward, as well as Dark Naruto. Then you want to do this as well? Of course I do. Once we do, things will be easier for me and you. They were face to face by this time. Dark Naruto placed his right hand on Naruto's left shoulder, his smirk still in place. But just so you know, you screw up and I will come back. He looked at Kushina over Naruto's shoulder, throwing her a wave with his free hand. Be seeing you, babe. But that he disappeared, becoming one with Naruto once again. Naruto looked at his left hand, feeling complete once again. Feeling better, hey Naruto? Said Kurama. Yes I do, answered Naruto quietly. Kushina placed a hand on his shoulder making him look at her. While you were looking for a place to train, me and Kurama found a solution to the limited energy problem. Naruto looked relieved at that. He didn't want to lose his mother after just barely getting to know her. And what was it? Quite simple really, said Kurama. Don't know how we didn't think of this before, but all I have to do is lend her some of my chakra, which is just about a fraction of a tael, not that much really. Naruto raised an eyebrow. That easily? But wait, isn't your chakra harmful to anyone but me? Kushina chuckled, making him look at her. Naruto-kun, remember that I was the Jinchuriki before you. My body, well my soul as well, is used to it. Naruto chuckled as well. Sorry, guess I forgot. What now? Asked Kurama after a moment of silence. Isn't it obvious? Said Naruto before he along with Kushina appeared on top of Kurama's head, one of Naruto's arm around Kushina's waist, making her blush lightly. It would seem Dark Naruto was still present after all. Naruto grinned. It's time for the last of my training. What if Rinnegan Naruto and Mikoto Sasuke bashing? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.